Phillip Island sparkling in the sunshine on an August weekend that we will be remembering for a while, I suspect, for some terrific GT racing. Hello everybody, welcome along to the SRO Australian GT Festival here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. I'm Richard Crowe, with me Garth Tander, Cameron van der Dungen and Jonathan Simon to bring you a sensational afternoon of racing. It will start shortly with Monochrome GT4 Australia. It then builds to the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. Some of the biggest names in Australian motorsport will be on the racetrack. Well, that's the scene. It's currently just on 18 degrees here at the island. A breeze that's been consistent all day, but not as strong as it has been at this place in the past. No rain forecast this afternoon. There might be some tomorrow, but right now we're not worried about that. Bright sunshine and stunning conditions that are sometimes rare in this part of the world. It's a great scene and a great crowd has turned out to watch some top-class GT racing. Speaking of GT, he's alongside me. Hello Garth, good afternoon. We're counting down to the first race in Monochrome GT4 Australia. It's all staged and set nicely for a great battle this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rich. Good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, looking forward to this one, particularly given GT4, the amount of manufacturers we have in this championship, to have basically four manufacturers inside the top five. It'll be an interesting race just to see who's got what strengths and weaknesses. George Meguiar in the Mustang will start from pole position, and Ryder Quinn in the BMW will start from the outside the second row. But Phillip Island's a fantastic circuit. Any GT car, whether it's a GT4 car or a GT3 car, just love eating up the bitumen here at Phillip Island. It's a fast track, flowing track, one of Australia's great race circuits, and one that we all enjoy driving on.
It's one of the great places, and in these conditions it just does not get any better. Let's go down to the lane to get an update before this 1 hour race commences, and we say a very good afternoon to Cameron van der Dungen.
Good afternoon, Krause. Good afternoon, GT. A bit of breaking news down here in pit lane. George Meguiar was late to roll out into the grid. Rylan Gray, what's happened? I've heard a whisper 25 kilo weight penalty.
Yeah, so we got a 25 weight added. Obviously from qualifying, we had a pretty good qualifying, and yeah, we got a pretty late call to put the weight in, so it was a big rush, but props to the team. They did an amazing job and got the car out with a minute before pit exit closed. So yeah, they did a great job, and happy we're on the grid.
All right, good luck. I'll let them get back to the boys in the booth for this race, but there you go, breaking news. Pole sitter, extra 25 kilos, last minute call for that car.
Thanks, Cameron. Good afternoon to you. Have all the updates with us in the lane this afternoon. And yeah, a balance of performance category where a series of weight and air restrictors and engine maps go into equalising the performance among these various racing cars, Garth. So it's part of the game. You have to play it sometimes. And sometimes, if you're successful, you're going to cop a little whack for your efforts.
Well, for those of you that caught qualifying earlier today for GT4, we heard from George Meguiar, and he was very much selling the fact that, you know, they did the hard work, and that we worked really hard on our race car, and that's why we've got a performance improvement, or that's why we have a performance advantage over our opposition. Those that make the rules sound like they've disagreed with that, and given that that car was on pole position for both the first race today and the second race tomorrow by a margin, they've added that 25 kilos. So I was curious. I did see George leaving pit lane very late, and then that did get my attention. I didn't think they'd be adding 25 kilos. And Rich, just finding 25 kilos of ballast at short notice would have been a challenge for the team. So a good effort to get that car out in time for this one.
Well, if I thought my neck could hold up to the G's at Phillip Island, I'd strap into the passenger seat, but that might over-penalise them. It's a great field. George Meguiar does start from pole in that awesome Ford Mustang, which has been one of the big talking points in GT4 racing in Australia this year, but an awesome job from Ryder Quinn, grandson of Tony, son of Clark, who's been doing great things in car number 3. That's the Black Diamond entry to BMW M4 GT4 car. They've battled for results this year, to be fair, the BMWs. This is a great opportunity for them to get out in front early and have a real challenge to that Ford Mustang and perhaps get a big result on the board.
Yeah, so the flip side of the Meguiar Mustang getting that penalty is that everyone else's attention stands up, and you think, wow, here we go. This might be an opportunity, given the Mustang was very, very strong last time GT4 raced at Phillip Island earlier this year. There's David Brabham watching on. His son Sam will be starting out a 6th spot in their AMG GT4 Mercedes. So It's great to have David back in Australia racing GT cars, by the way. But yeah, Ryder Quinn, Tim Lay, Marcus Flack in the McLaren out of 2nd, 3rd and 4th. All of a sudden, feeling a little bit extra motivated ahead of this one, thinking we might have a fighting chance against this rapid Ford Mustang.
Meguiar on pole, so Ryder Quinn 2nd. Tim Lay, Orange's finest, goes off the inside of the 2nd row of the grid. And Tim, as competitive as he is seated, classified an AM driver, but he said, no, do you know what? I want to be in the silver class. So he stepped up at the start of the season to play with the fastest guys in this championship. Shows you how competitive he is. He's got young gun Cody Bircher alongside him in this race. 2 products of New South Wales Central West, and we're looking forward to seeing how they go. So that is confirmation of your grid. Ford, a couple of BMWs, and then the first of the McLarens from Method Motorsport with the young guns, Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman next. Lockie Manif and Shane Smollen are in the Porsche. It will be Manif who starts car number 1. Sam Brabham will start the Love Motorsport Mercedes AMG out of 6th. Then it's Jake Camilleri, the Queenslander, in another Merc. Young gun Oscar Target making his GT4 debut in a Ginetta G56. We'll tell you more about that car. It's a cool new thing. Father and son racing out of 9. Nash and Paul Morris in a McLaren 570. And Anthony Levitt on pole in the AM class and was over the moon. Didn't just do it once, did it twice for both races in qualifying. An outstanding job. The Randall Racing BMW, Jamie Augustine and Pete Lawrence next. Tom McLennan and Zoe Woods starting their Porsche out of 12th. Watch for Tom to make some moves early in this one. Mark Griffith next, then John Bow and Jacob Lawrence, Steve Jukes, Bailey Love and Rob Love. Another of the father and son combos starting this one out of the 16th position. And just confirming it is John Bow who will start car number 32. So how does this race play out? Well, it's 60 minutes. It starts when they get the green light and come around for the rolling start this time by. There's a compulsory pit stop window of 10 minutes, slap bang in the middle of the race, and that's when they'll have to roll into pit lane for a mandatory time of 120 seconds. Though it could be longer for some. If you've had some prior success, you get some time added in the stops. That's how it'll play out, and at the end of 60 minutes, we'll find who gets the first blood in round 4 of Monochrome GT4 Australia. This is the boom category in global GT racing. It's an entry-level point to the sport, but man, it is super competitive with very, very cool racing cars. We wait for the clock to start and get underway at Phillip Island in stunning conditions, just on 18 degrees. Sunlight bathing this racetrack all day and a great crowd enjoying a great day of motor racing. Here we go, Monochrome GT4. 2 big front engine rear drive coupes on the front row, and Lockie Manif with a speedy start in the Porsche from a little back, but there's not much traction out there in the grass at the island, and he's actually going to lose some ground as a result. It's Meguiar who sweeps in front and leads Ryder Quinn down to turn 2 for the first time. Marcus Flack, pink nose on that McLaren, is next, and Sam Brabham already up some spots. So too Oscar Target in the Ginetta. He's up to 5th place. So
the big loser off the line was Tim Lay out of 3rd spot. He's dropped back to 6th. So something going wrong for the number 22 BMW M4. Potentially started in the wrong gear. It was a very, very slow start as George Meguiar brought him to the line. As they make their way down to turn 4, Ryder Quinn right in the boot of the Mustang. He's not interested in hanging around. He wants to get to the front. Meguiar having to defend up into Siberia. Marcus Flack, who's jumped from 4th to 3rd, is taking a bit of a watching brief. And Sam Brabham up 2 spots as well. So nice clean start to this one. Some winners, some losers. The biggest loser, Lay, 3rd back to 6th.
Sam Brabham went very deep down into turn 4 and the car went very wide. He almost lost the spot to Oscar Target, but was able to grab that number 27 car up. So big stop now down the hill into the right-hander that's called MG. And then it's that long, long run around the final 2 corners back to the Wayne Gardner front straight here at Phillip Island. So there are different classes we'll refer to, and it really is class racing. The outright win is nice, yes, but the focus is on who wins in the categories. Ryder Quinn is a Pro-Am car. All of those around him are silver class cars. But he would love to be out in clean air out in front. 1 lap down, 58 minutes to go. It's Meguiar, Quinn, Flack, Brabham and Target, the top 5. Sam Brabham looking to place a move on Marcus Flack in the battle for 3rd and 4th.
George Miedeke, remember, he has 25 kilos more ballast in that car than the last time he drove it in qualifying. So that car will be behaving very, very different. You might think, well, it's only 25 kilos, it's only half a Richard Craig. But it does have a big influence over the way these cars behave. That's why they use ballast as a form of balance and performance. Here comes Ryder Quinn. He's having a look up the inside. And to your point, Rich, because this is class racing, George Miedeke isn't really racing Ryder Quinn, because Ryder Quinn in the Pro-Am class, doing a nice job, mind you. The next Pro-Am car is 9th outright, which is Lockie Beneath. So not only is Ryder leading the race, he's leading his class by a margin. But George Miedeke doesn't need to fight that car for his class race win. And that's what you're thinking about with points. You need to not fall asleep. You need to be focused on this race and push forwards.
Nap time later this afternoon. But here's the kind of weather for a nap, though, I've got to tell you. So the battle now on as Marcus Flack, fast young guy, and the Flack family well known in Aussie motorsport. So Dad Damien, a racer in one-make Porsche racing. Uncle Adrian is incredibly competitive in one-make Porsche racing at the moment. Cousins are all racing as well, so the Flacks are everywhere, and they're very, very fast, all of them, and Marcus doing a nice job in that brand new team launched at the start of the year, Method Motorsport, that counts Chaz Mostert as one of its owners and managers. But Sam Brabham's got a really good run out of turn 12. A little bit of a toe perhaps in that big AMG up behind, but no room down there at turn 1. And he's got Oscar Target just in behind in that Ginetta G56. And there is Tim Lay. So a little recovery effort now from Tim to get to the back of this leading group after a slow start.
It certainly was a sluggish launch from the rolling start from Tim Lay. Fight back on the back of Oscar Target, but Ryder Quinn, also in a BMW, is showing plenty of speed at the front of the field. Fastest lap of the race and fastest first sector on this lap. So Quinn looking to extend his advantage. There's the man that's actually second in class, Lockie Beneath, down in 9th, all over the back of Tom McClellan. A couple of Porsche Cayman 718s, chasing down Jake Camilleri. So this is the back part of the 10. 789.
The Porsche big in one-make racing, of course, but they're well known for their GT exploits. And it's interesting to notice all the manufacturers in the paddock this weekend all going around spruiking their wares. And Ron Wilson from Sagami, who are the McLaren importers in this part of the world, is here talking up McLaren stock. And I know Porsche's here as well, with a bunch of new Caymans on their way to Australia as well. This category has real potential to become enormous very, very quickly. Customer racing at its absolute finest. So Quinn extending his margin out in front. He's got big, big position over his closest class rival, was Lockie Beneath in car number 1 that Garth was just detailing. The other big mover and shaker of this started 13th up to 8th now is Tom McLennan, and that is that Innovation Race Cars TechWorks Motorsport Porsche. So he's been one of the biggest gainers so far in this. We'll hand over to Zoe Woods at the compulsory pit stop. Just in front is Jake Camilleri too in the Mercedes AMG. Caught up with Jake between qualifying and the race, and he said, look, I'm nibbling away at it. I feel like every round I'm getting closer and closer to those guys at the front. And Jake's the kind of guy that's confident that when he gets there, he'll be able to race with them and compete with them week in, week out. But it's a big learning process as Lay goes down the inside of Oscar Target, and that is for 5th and 6th position.
Jake Camilleri, you mentioned a stalwart of production car racing, and this is the next natural progressive step, if you like, up the production car ladder from a base production car into more of a GT entry-level car in GT4. It's great to see Jake Camilleri in his AMG, and he is right. I think he is right in his summation that once he's built the base of driving a GT4 car, we certainly have seen in the past that Jake Camilleri is a very competitive race car driver. He's not afraid to go door handle to door handle with anyone. So once he's comfortable with the car, feels like he's built the base, just running in the back part of the 10, I think is a pretty competitive opening stanza, certainly here this weekend at Phillip Island.
This is the fight for 5th and 6th, so Target. This is the debut for the Ginetta G56 in Monochrome GT4 Australia. It's the latest and greatest version from a sports car manufacturer from country UK that's been around forever in that part of the world, but only relatively recently have they become predominant in international GT racing. They have had a GT3 product in the past as well, Ginetta, but best known for their GT4 cars, and in the UK their one-make championships are very, very strong, and Ginetta Juniors have produced half of the BTCC champions of the last 2 decades. But a great brand, and the G56 carries a 6.2 litre V8. So Team 19, Mark Griffith's squad, who's running that car this weekend, has enlisted young Oscar Target, who's currently leading Porsche Sprint Challenge this season, and he's doing a good job up in 6th position at the moment, with Jake Camilleri just behind him. 2 Porsches continue their battle as well. Lockie Manif looking to get past Tom McLennan. We look a little bit further back. Randall Racing, BMW. Tony Levitt, second in the AM class, was in that green-nosed Mercedes AMG. Love, and then Augustine. And we're going safety car. Safety car has been called. Wait for word from Motorsport Australia Race Control on that one, but our timing screen flashes yellow, and that's why. And it's
Audi.
Steve Jukes in the brand new Audi R8 GT4 car making its debut. Had a troubled start today and off in qualifying, and it took the front splitter out of that car. And they're now brought out the BMW M safety car for the first time today.
So the field will bunch up behind the BMW safety car as it is now waiting just at pit exit for the field to come around. Ryder Quinn slowing the field and everyone following in line of stern. Nicely done.
Now what this does do, Garth, with a mandatory pit stop, there's a 10-minute window, is compact the field. And for Ryder Quinn, it's probably not great news, because Ryder's mission in life was to get out in front, build as big a margin as he can as a Pro-Am combination against the Silvers, who are more likely to be quick over the course of it. Oh, wow.
Turn one. And it made contact with the tyre barrier too. So Duke's long. You can see the witness marks as he's left the scene of the crime at the turn one, and he's had a moment mid-corner at one, got away from him and taken all the way through that gravel trap. Made contact with the tyre barrier. So hopefully not too much damage to that Audi, because we want to see that car back out again worse tomorrow. But it's a scary ride, turn one. It's fast, it's high commitment, and when it goes wrong, that's why there is an acre of gravel trap out there, and you can see there is some damage to the rear bumper and the side of that Audi R8 GT4. There was a line you said this morning, which I appreciated about turn one, is that you've actually got time to think about it. Talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, yeah, which says a lot, because it's such an incredible place to tip a race car in at high noise. If you've ever been fortunate enough to go around here at speed in your road car or in a passenger ride, and you've got to drag yourself away from the view for starters, but then commit to a corner that when you're approaching it at 200 plus k's an hour looks particularly tight for the kind of pace you go through it. So team medical crew are on the scene making sure that Steve is okay. Quite a big impact into that tyres, but that massive gravel trap down there has done its job. A quite recent addition, that wall on the driver's left down there, and that big gravel trap. Talked to Cam McConville, who told you stories about ending up almost down in Bass Strait with an off at turn one. But it's done its job. The safety systems, of which they continue to improve here at the island. A bunch of new catch fencing has gone up and new barriers all the way around the circuit to keep it up to spec for both top-level international motorsport, but two-wheel racing as well. Of course, the home of the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix. So the safety car out, and this is going to be a reasonable recovery down there to drag that car out, GT. So it's buying time for some in this field, but it's costing it when you've got someone like a Ryder Quinn or a Lockie Manif in your car and you want to maximise their drive time. The last thing you want is them running around at 60 k's an hour behind the BMW safety car.
Yeah, that's correct, Rich. But it is swings and roundabouts in these championships. Sometimes it goes your ways and sometimes it goes against you. And your point is correct that Ryder Quinn, they'd be wanting to maximise their green flag time and open the gap up as much as they can ahead of his co-driver jumping aboard.
Go down to the lane. Marcus Flack's had a good start. His co-driver Tom Heyman's in the lane with Cam.
Yeah, I thought I'd grab a driver that probably is happy for this one being under control at the moment. Tom Heyman, car sitting in good position, handing over to you. The other news that we broke earlier was the 25-kilo weight penalty to one of your major rivals. That probably bodes relatively well for you back into this race?
Yeah, hopefully it will. We're obviously quite early in the race so far. We'll wait and see how it pans out later. So hopefully we'll have the pace to stay with it, but we'll wait and see.
Now, it has been a track for the Mustangs earlier this year. Is there strengths, do you feel, in the McLaren for this race?
Oh, yeah, there definitely is. Obviously, we're quite quick through the sector 2 and 3, so just got to get out of the last corner and down the main straight well, and yeah, we'll stay with it.
I'm going to quickly take a moment here. Thank you, Tom. I'm going to grab Shane Smollen. We were just talking about before Lockie Manif probably being hurt a bit at the moment. From your perspective,
yeah, it's actually not bad for us. We're actually disappointingly in tyre management mode at the moment. We had some concerning wear patterns off qualifying, which was only a 10-minute session. So we're doing the best we can. We're limited to the amount of camber the car can run. So I'm pretty happy at the moment seeing the tyres have a rest and also that gap being nicely maintained. So that's fine by me.
Thank you, mate. And thank you for letting me dive bomb you too.
Pleasure anytime. You're a good-looking man.
Oh, it's questionable, but it's not the first time Cam Vanderdungen's dive bombed someone at Phillip Island either, by the way.
Probably the first time he's been told he's a good-looking man, though.
Correct. So safety car out, and recovery just underway down at turn 1 for the off with Steve Dukes in that Audi R8. Terrific crowd here today watching on. Lots of youngsters out to enjoy the motorsport and see some pretty cool cars. There's a nice display down behind pit exit of some very fine machinery. And the GT Festival living up to its hype here. So this is why we're under the control of the BMW safety car. Turn 1, high speed, one of the quickest corners in the sport, and certainly one with big consequences. And Steve Dukes is out of the car, and that's a great scene, and he'll be taken to the medical centre here at Phillip Island for checks, as is procedure, to make sure he's okay.
Yep. Certainly good to see Steve under his own power, making his way to the medical centre. And hopefully not too much longer, we'll be green again. BMW safety car taking the lead of the field with the BMW GT4 M4 right behind Rich. So
the team at Springvale at BMW Australia will be watching on with great enjoyment at that, I would suspect. And the job's on for Ryder Quinn now to try and deliver that car home, if he can, to his co-driver at the compulsory pit stop window, which will open 25 minutes into the race and close at 35 minutes. So you can use any one of those 10 minutes to dive off into the lane to complete your compulsory pit stop. It's 120 seconds, the mandatory pit stop time for Monochrome GT4 cars. So that's the minimum amount of time you have to spend in the lane. Any less than that and you will get penalised. But some cars have success penalties. So if you won last time out, much like the Ford Mustang, you have to serve an additional 15 seconds. And that's where the safety car can hurt you as well, because that track position that you build up early can mitigate if you've got pit stop penalty time. And that will then just put more pressure on someone like Ryland Gray, the youngster who will jump aboard the George Miedeke Lubramax Mustang in the second half of the race. He's going to have to drive that thing very, very hard to get it home.
it was interesting to hear from Shane Smollen, who's sharing the car with Lachlan McNeef, who's down in 9th, and saying they're actually happy about this safety car because there's a little bit of concern about the tyre longevity on that car, and they're not running the ultimate setup that they'd like for performance, but potentially a setup in that car that's more about making sure the tyre survives the entirety of this 1 hour event. And just giving the tyre a little breather here, but probably more so the fact that it's not allowing Ryder Quinn to escape up the road, because that's the car they're most directly racing against. So Quinn leading this one outright, Manif down in 9th, but the gap has massively shrunk. That gap was north of 12 seconds before the safety car. It's down under 6 right now. So Ryder Quinn's effectively lost half the lead he had over the next car in his class, which is Manif down in 9th. I was just going through some of the cars that will have compensation time added to their pit stops, Rich. The 35 Mustang, as you mentioned, because they won the last time out. The 25 McLaren of Flack, who's down in 3rd. And then the 24 car, which is not towards the front of the field. So if you're Sam Brabham, Tim Late, Oscar Target, you're actually liking this as well, because it's closed that gap up, and you know that those cars in front of you will be sitting still longer than you will when it comes time to do your compulsory pit stop.
John Bowe worked his way to the front of the AM class, by the way, and that number 32 Randall Racing BMW just coming into shot now, and behind him Tony Levitt, who's jumped into that car this weekend for the first time, the second of the Method Motorsport cars. Love behind in the second of the 2 team cars. They're the Love Motorsport entries run by Volante Rosso, who have a couple of cars in Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, which is coming your way this afternoon in our coverage from the SRO GT Festival here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. So stick around. Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia is up next, and that has been blockbuster stuff this season. Chaz Mostert starts from pole position this afternoon. Will Brown is right in the mix. There is Ferrari, Audi, Mercedes AMG, Aston Martin, all in the game for podium finishes this afternoon. So that's still coming your way. Do not move from your box, because there's going to be Terrific racing all the way through, and this one will restart soon. Tyre life is often a topic of discussion here, tyre wear and issues. Why? What is it about this place that causes so many dramas?
Well, we spoke about it earlier in the day, Rich, and Phillip Island is known globally, not just here in Australia, but globally, as one of the toughest circuit layouts for tyres and how much energy it puts through the tyre, because we celebrate and love the fact that it's so high speed and the corner radiuses are so long and it's so fast and so sweeping. But it's a high grip surface. This surface has just been relayed here at Phillip Island, and every time they relay the surface here at Phillip Island, the grip comes up. So when you're in the corner for a long period of time with high grip, it creates a lot of energy. And energy means temperature. And the temperature, because you're in the corner for such a long time, really does hurt the tyre. And it certainly can stress the tyre to the point where sometimes the tyre might fail. And often we've seen it here in the past with MotoGP, where they actually effectively had to have a mid-race pit stop because the tyres weren't going to last the full GP distance. So hearing from Shane Smollen earlier about the Porsche Cayman, how they can't run the ultimate setup. They have to run a setup in the car that's conservative on the tyre. It's going to manage the tyre for the entirety of the race. They've played the long game. It's probably this safety car. They probably felt if we stayed green, we're running a compromised setup, but we're comfortable that the race car's going to do a full 1 hour. Potentially the cars at the front of the field who had more speed had a more aggressive setup in the car, and this safety car is actually helping them maintain the tyre temperatures being a bit lower and looking after the tyre for them.
The other question I was going to ask, and the safety car has probably mitigated some of that, is while you don't have to do anything except the driver change in a pit stop, if you want to put tyres on, you can, and you've got 120 seconds to do it in this category. So the question for mine was, I wonder if teams will have a look at perhaps putting some right side tyres on your car here, which is the tyre that cops all of the load with all of the left-hand corners at this place, all the high speed stuff, like the one we're looking at now at turn 3, which when you look at it from down low, never looks as tight as it does from above, like that shot there. So I wonder though if what is now almost 15 minutes behind the control of the BMW M safety car might mitigate that. It might mean these teams are confident enough to get to the end on the tyres they've got.
Well, but they have done probably 4 push laps at the start of this race, and you'll get another probably 3 push laps before the safety car, or sorry, before the pit stop window opens. So for me, if you were thinking about changing the tyre, I'd be changing the tyre. One, so you can get the tyre off and have a look at it, and then you can then relay feedback to the incoming driver. Say, actually, you know what? We did 7 push laps. This tyre actually looks okay. You right, good to push all the way to the end. Or flip side, you did 7 push laps. This tyre don't look real good. Let's conserve and make sure we finish this race and bring the car home, and then we can make some adjustments ahead of tomorrow.
And the other thing they can do in a stop as we get ready for a restart is they can bleed pressure out as well. So if you don't change tyres, you can get the pressures reset for that last push to the checkered flag. So the BMW safety car will be in this lap. We'll go back to racing. There'll be just under 39 minutes left on the clock in this one. Monochrome GT4 Australia. Ryder Quinn, 3rd generation racer, leads the field. George Miedeke, 2nd generation racer, and another 2nd gen driver behind. In fact, they're everywhere. Sam Brabham in 4th place as well as a 5th generation. It's crazy. They're everywhere. So we're ready for a restart. Let's get this one underway, and we now race towards the pit stop, which will open in 5 minutes' time. So these laps are now very, very critical, and Ryder Quinn becomes the safety car to lead the field back to the green light on the Wayne Gardner front straight. And that's the view that he's got, looking directly down to Bass Strait. The next stop is Tasmania. Here we go. The BMW gets underway. Miedeke next. Remember, no overlapping, certainly not overtaking before the control line, but you can do it afterwards. And that's what Sam Brabham wants to do. A great jump by the Merc. He's going to get along the inside of Marcus Flack, and he's going to get past Marcus Flack before they roll down to turn 1. So Brabham gets ground, and Tim Lay's looking to do the same thing. Good restart for Brabham, Lay, and there is Oscar Target in as well.
So Flack wasn't able to get the punch, and I just wonder whether there was something to do with the torque characteristics of the 2 different engines there between the AMG Mercedes and the McLaren. The McLaren, much more high revving type of engine, smaller capacity, whereas the Merc, lots of torque. So coming from that slow restart speed, I just wonder whether Sam Brabham, one, read the restart beautifully, but two, had the advantage of just having a torquier engine as they made the launch off the restart down towards turn one. Either way, you've got to get the job done, and Sam Brabham did a nice job of that. So now he continues to go forward and ranging up on the rear bumper of George Miedeke, while Ryder Quinn, we were talking before that safety car that he's lost all this gap and that he has lost the advantage. He's got his head down here and really trying to maximise these few minutes before the pit stop window opens.
Spoke to Sam Brabham this morning and he said, we feel like we're genuine contenders this weekend. He and Antonio Estudio, I should say, his brothers in GT World Challenge. They've shuffled that driver lineup around at Love Racing so Rob and Bailey can share the sister car, number 17, currently running in 14th place and in 4th place in the AM class. So they feel like they're a real shot in this race, and right now Sam living up to that. 27 hit in, that's the board for the Brabham car.
I just wonder whether there might be some radio concerns, because you don't often see the old school pit boards out for just general communication. So I'm just wondering whether maybe Volante Rosso, Love Racing, maybe not communicating properly with the 27 car. Doesn't matter. Sam Brabham's pushing on nicely at the moment. It will matter shortly because he will have to come to pit lane soon. I'm sure they will find a way to get his attention to get him to the lane.
That was Chris Papadopoulos. He's the boss down there as well on the tools, on pit wall. Former Renault Formula One team engineer with Kimi Raikkonen back in the day. The Porsches boxing on a little bit further back. So Tom McLennan under pressure from Lachlan Manif. We heard from his co-driver Shane Smolin early on. Marcus Flack, having been passed by Brabham, is now firmly attached to the rear bar of that Love Motorsport Mercedes AMG, and then he's got to deal with a feisty Timmy Lay in behind as well, and drivers suited and booted in the lane, ready to go, and the pit window will open in the next 90 seconds for this one. Doesn't mean they'll all peel off into pit lane straight away, mind you. They've got the full 10 minutes to do it. And if you feel like you've got driver and car in the right space and you've got track position as well, you can get in. At the same time, if you're boxed in behind someone like Marcus Flack right now, maybe you consider getting in the lane early and go for a little bit of an undercut, get yourself out in clean air and press on later in the race. So there is still some little strategic windows you can play out in these 1 hour races.
Yeah, there's certainly some jeopardy, and also the flip side is you can't take your compulsory pit stop under safety car. So if you stay out, Lay trying to get up the inside of Flack into one, which would be a big move, wasn't able to get it done this time, but if you stay out and the safety car comes out and you get trapped on the racetrack, then there's some more jeopardy involved there as well. So there's a whole lot of weighing up in these pit garages right now. The pit window will open very, very shortly. A lot of weighing up going on right now. When will the exact right time come to complete that compulsory pit stop?
This is what makes GT racing at the moment so good though, this battle pack. So normally aspirated V8 front engine in the Mercedes AMG, big coupe. Then the mid-mount turbocharged V6 McLaren in behind, locked together with the Merc in front. Behind them, turbocharged engine in the front of the BMW, big sports GT coupe that it is. And then the naturally aspirated Chevy V8 powered Ginetta, lightweight, nimble little thing in behind. So 4 different theories, all doing about the same pace and squabbling over what is 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th position in race 1 of Monochrome GT4. And balance of performance gets talked about a lot in this sport, but man, it is a really cool thing because it generates this kind of racing.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, if you're a driver that feels that you're on the back end of a bad BOP penalty or adjustment, you always feel like the world's against you, but you only have to look at our screens right now to see all those different manufacturers, all those different car configurations. I mean, a fact that a British sports car, cottage sports car manufacturer with a Chev engine in the front of it is battling with the best of Munich with their BMW turbo engine tells you that the BOP thing's actually working pretty well.
And into the lane with the pit stop window opens comes Marcus Flack and Tim Lay. So they've elected to get themselves out of the traffic.
And I think that's smart.
Yep.
Remember, the 25 car will sit here longer than Lay will, given that Flack has some hanging over compensation time from the previous event.
Yeah, 10 seconds for finishing second is your penalty, 15 if you win. So that's on the end of George Miedeke pit stop when he decides to roll into the lane. So 15, 10 and 5 are the time penalties you get for winning. So you get success, you get some champagne, you get a trophy, but...
And some time for your trouble.
Correct, it pays in the next race.
remember when I did a GT3 race, I actually asked, because our pit stop was so long, whether I was allowed to change the tyre before I got in to do the driving change.
Oh,
yeah, I was.
yeah.
We had enough
tools?
time. I would jump on the tools, change the tyre, then do the driving change. But the team wouldn't let me do that.
NPC,
No, they've got people for that.
So Tim Lay into Cody Bircher will jump into that car. Fast young guy who's been running around in Toyota 86s. Very, very accomplished sim racer as well. And in fact, during the old COVID times, he was very, very active on the iRacing scene internationally. So he gets an opportunity. I spoke to Tim about him before this race, and Tim said, I have known that family for as long as I've been in Orange. So they go way back. Oh, as Levitt has a big, big dig, and he's being attacked by a couple of BMWs, and the 33 car of Jamie Augustine just squeezed wide on the exit of turn 10. Meadicke in now, so too Oscar Target. So the leader's shuffling through the lane as well, but that was a fairly hectic little battle going on.
Levitt just finding out exactly how hard it is that we've all known over our careers, how hard it is to pass John Bowe.
Yes.
Harder to pass than the kidney stone, John Bowe, and nothing has changed over the entirety of his career. Knows exactly where to place the car to his advantage and absolutely completely to your disadvantage.
And the reason it means something is this is the lead for the AM class. So think of this as the battle for the win in the class. So Tony was defending there and Augustine around the outside.
Well, he was attacking and defending
at the same time.
Both team cars all at once.
Well, there's a little bit of history with those two BMWs. The last round of the championship, if you didn't see it, was at Queensland Raceway. And those two cars were battling for the win in the class and third outright on the final lap. And now they're 1 and 2. And Bailey Love's going to go around the outside of Levitt at the hairpin, can't get through. These guys absolutely locked together. Mark Griffith not too far behind them on the scene as well. This is for the class lead.
So Augustine's got around Levitt, ranging up onto the rear bumper of his teammate John Bowe. So Randall Motorsport BMWs resume the battle that they had at Queensland Raceway.
And they traded paint there, Garth, on the last lap. So
very impressive looking paint too.
It is.
Railsy.
Yep.
Chrome blue. The cars look fantastic. Levitt again sniffing up the inside at MG. And that was more defence than attack, I think. Trying to keep Love behind. So these guys continue on past pit entry. So they're maximising the start of this race, stretching the pit window. Looks to me like Augustine's got more momentum than Bowe here. He's going to range up the outside for the run down the front straight, but that's put you in the total wrong position for turn 1.
Now check this out. The Mustang leaves pit lane as Brabham rolls in. So Brabham was the leader in the silver class, was dicing with the Mercedes. So basically gone a full lap down, and then the Mustang rejoins. So he's going to come out behind Cody Bircher, and there's the McLaren as well goes through. So that is for track position. That is net position late in the race. So Bircher has gone through and Tom Heyman has gone through as well in car 25. So that's that extra 15 seconds costing this car. So the next rejoin we'll watch will be where the Brabham Studi Mercedes AMG comes out after their compulsory stop.
Well, they should be strong because they don't have any compensation time. So that time or gap difference between Ryle and Gray is 5 seconds, the differential between the 25 McLaren and the Mustang of the Meadicke Motorsport team. So that's working pretty much to perfection, that compensation time. You have success at the previous round. We'll just make it that little bit harder for you at the next one.
Meanwhile, these two, I think, have forgotten there's a mandatory pit stop at some point in the race because they continue to squabble on. And Bailey Love's gone with them. Mark Griffith there too. They're going to have to pit at some point. Do they pit them both at the same time just to be on brand as being inseparable?
Yes.
Yeah. No, they don't. I think
Jamie was trying to get up the inside there and decided at the last moment JB was coming to pit lane.
Wow. So Brabham's car released with Antonio Estudi behind the wheel, and he's going to rejoin now. The question is, where does he rejoin relative? I think he's going to be in front of Tim Lay. Target goes through as well. So I think
Target.
Oscar Target's in the box seat.
Effective race lead, I think. Yeah,
yep.
You're right.
Yep.
So that car, obviously, car and driver new to the championship, so no compensation time for them. So you're right. So there's Target.
And Estudi just
behind. And then Bircher in
Heyman.
the Lay BMW. actually third.
But they're all going to be reasonably well grouped together. In fact, all of the leading cars, net leading cars, are in that group. And they're trying to put a lap down Mark Griffith now. So they're on the back of this battle pack for the AM lead.
Well, they're not a lap down,
Which
which is that these cars haven't pitted yet.
Correct.
So they're effectively on the tail of them for position. But once these cars in front peel to pit lane, it'll clear the track, if you like, cleanse the field.
So this is the AM class battle, and just behind it, what will be net race lead. The question is, where does car 3 come out? So that's the last big roll of the dice from an overall standings point of view, is when Ryder Quinn pulls off into pit lane and plugs Steve Jackick into that car for the second half of the race. Bear in mind, they're a Pro-Am car, so they're racing for their own trophy, but knowing Ryder Quinn as I do, I'm very confident he'll be dead keen to cross the line first outright as well. And these two finally peel off into the lane as well.
So the 210 of McClellan in the lane. The IRC Porsche Cayman. And Zoe Woods will climb aboard that one. He's the first of the Randall Motorsport cars still in the lane. You see the 33 will lob. There it is. Here it comes. It's almost like they timed that to perfection, Rich.
Well, the double stacking's easy when you just do another lap and your other car's still in the lane and drives away, isn't it? That's a much, much better solution than parking your car in the fast lane waiting to get out. So Mark Griffith, Team 19, go to work. So 3 cars yet to stop, and they're all Pro-Am cars. Ryder Quinn, Lockie Manif and Nash Morris. And this is net race lead we're talking about now, with Oscar Target in front of Antonio Astudi, Cody Bircher, and then Jake Camilleri just a couple of seconds around the road. So that's 1, 2 and 3. They're 8th, 9th and 10th on the road at the moment, but they're going to gobble these cars up that are sitting in pit lane.
Cody Bircher, of these top 3 cars that will cleanse their way to the top of the field, is the fastest of these 3. So Target is a 29.6 in the first sector, Astudi at 29.3 and Bircher at 29.1. Actually a race best first sector for that car. So Cody Bircher's jumped aboard Tim Lay's BMW and lit it up straight away, trying to close this gap down to Target and Astudi. Camilleri is some 3 seconds behind Bircher. So those that were at the front, their compensation time's taken them out of the game for now.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that it's going to finish like this, because the reason they've got compensation time is because they were very fast last time we went racing and had success. So they will chase them down towards the end of this one. Still 25 minutes and change left in this race.
So Ryder Quinn pits from the overall race lead. Lockie Manif pits from 2nd. Nash Morris pits from 3rd. And these cars now will complete a full lap and then will cycle through to the net race lead. Bircher's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:35.45. It's only 9/10 off the lap record set by Tom Heyman here at the start of the year. But this is an important battle now, and Target's under some pretty big pressure. He spent last weekend in a battle in Porsche Sprint Challenge racing down in Tassie. He's doing it again, defending the run down into Honda, but round the outside goes Antonio Astudi. Is he far enough alongside to go side by side into Siberia? He's not. And Target will just shut the door enough to hold on to the lead for another few corners.
And Cody Bircher's loving what he's seeing out of the windscreen of his BMW. These two going to battle and slowing each other up. And Bircher ranging up onto the rear bumper of Antonio Astudi as Target and Astudi. Oh, big move from Astudi. Target saw him late. You can see him open the wheel. He's going to try and go around the outside of Lukey Heights. Astudi gets the job done. Now Bircher straight away. He's not mucking about. Wants to get this done. Does not want Astudi to get away. Does Bircher get it done before they change direction? Yes, he does. So that was an important move.
Now, what's going to happen here, though, is the number 3 BMW is going to beat them all out. So Steve Jackick has just left pit lane, and he will be the race leader. There he is, orange BMW disappearing off towards Bass Strait. So while these guys have been squabbling for what they all thought would be the net race win, they've actually got a job to do now, because the BMW is still well in front. Now, they've beaten Manif out, or Shane Smolin, in the number 1 car. So he's 2nd in Pro-Am, 5th outright.
So Jackick, he's near on 9 seconds up the road from Astudi and Bircher. But you expect these two, who have put the timing screen up, mind you, once they've jumped aboard these cars, will close that gap down for the outright race win. Jackick is still racing Shane Smolin, who's currently 5th. So that car has made up 4 spots in the pit stop cycle, the number 1 Porsche Cayman 718. And Smolin now is 12 seconds off the race lead. Car 3 in breach.
33. It is 33. Yeah. Oh, you're worried for a moment there. So that's the Peter Lawrence, sorry, Randall Racing BMW. And they were in that particularly intense battle. What we don't know whether it was on pit entry or pit exit.
No.
Often at this place it's pit entry. They attack that control line. This is a look at that fantastic battle. Great car control. A bunch of young racing car drivers having a really good crack. Target opened the steering, as Garth said, at the top of Lukey. And then Cody Birchett was able to commit. And once you're on the inside there at turn 11, you're clearing through. So let's get a bit of a lap time check next time by and see where car 3's at. Well, they're hauling him in as Jacket gets back up to speed, having just taken over that car. Cam?
Yeah, I thought I'd grab Ryder Quinn fresh out of the car. Ryder, great stint from you firstly.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I knew we had a chance going off the front row. But look, at the end of the day, this is for Pro-Am, not outright. So I'm not sure how my co-driver's going to go, but I have faith in him, so let's see how we go.
Oh, that was my next question. I was going to come back saying, I think you handed over with about a 9-second lead. Is it going to be enough?
Not sure. Let's see how Speedy Steve goes. I definitely hope it is. But look, as long as he stays in front of Shane Smolin, I believe, who's in P2 of Pro-Am, then I think we're coming away with a happy day.
Well, you did your job, so well done.
Great. Thanks.
RZ pretty happy there, and he makes a very good point. They're racing their own race. This isn't about them getting the checkered flag first, and they've got to the back of the BMW now, and to be fair, Steve really could just wave them by and let them go without risking getting involved in what's a pretty furious battle for the silver class lead between Antonio Astudi and Cody Birchett. And gets up to Lukey Heights, and they're right behind him now. So they're going to be passed at some time soon. They've got that Pro-Am win to worry about. So the target for him is Shane Smolin, who's 7th on the road at the moment, 2nd in the Pro-Am class.
Now, a smart move by Jackie, just getting out of the way, because he needs to keep his momentum up. It's better to let these guys go and then jump in behind and chase as best he can to manage that gap back to Smolin. The gap to Smolin now is just on 11 seconds. So that's the gap that they'll be keeping an eye on in the number 3 garage as Oscar Targa gets a run and tries to get a run down the inside into turn 1. But the BMW's got some pretty good straight line handling. And it's a pretty good example of the difference in the BOP and the car performance and how the cars achieve their lap time. Bircher, high, wide and handsome at turn 2. You won't get around the outside there, but trying to square up the exit for a good run off turn 2 through 3 for the potential to get a braking manoeuvre done down at turn 4 upon the corner. Not quite close enough, I don't think, this lap.
Antonio Astudi doing a nice job of the generational racing talent. His dad, Sam, accomplished racer in the Formula Holden days, well-known car preparer, race team owner. Still pops up at racetracks, both supporting his sons who are successful at racing, but clients as well. Runs a vehicle restoration business in Melbourne and often on the tools for Sonic Motor Racing on their Porsches. So hugely busy little racing clan they've got going on. And Antonio loving this opportunity to get behind the wheel of a GT4 car and show what he's capable of. And the day gets worse for car 33 because as well as their pit lane speed violation, they've also got a pit lane penalty for a breach of pit stop time as well. So they're just throwing penalties at them, Brody Kostecki style at the moment.
That's right. You get a penalty, you get a penalty, everyone gets a penalty. But the 33, you don't get a breach for spending too long in pit lane, Rich. So generally that means that maybe stood still a little bit less than you should have.
And all the teams are given, so 120 seconds is the total time. All the teams are given the transit time at the start of the weekend by SRO. And at 39.4 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. So you add that onto the time you've got to be stationary. That's how you work it out. Jonathan?
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Jamie Augustine from In the Randall Racing BMW. Just come into the pit lane now. You assume you got the penalty for pit speeding, but it could have also been your teammate.
Yeah, I think I ran out of talent, actually. I suspect it was me. Came in a bit deep and just couldn't quite stop. I don't know if it's me, but I wouldn't be awfully surprised if it is me.
Talking about that, though, how was the first stint? Car feel okay?
Yeah, car felt okay. I got pushed off a couple of times, which made me fall back. I had the pace to be leading the class, but it took a while to get back past people. So it was a shame we didn't quite end up where we should have today, but we'll go better tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I've got Nash Morris down here as we're just seeing some action on track at the moment. Nash, driving with your old man here. Last time I talked to you, you were racing Trans Am and your dad was giving you advice. My main question, who's quicker?
The younger bloke. Yeah, I got less to lose, so I'm a bit faster out there. But no, you're still always learning plenty off people, and he's got plenty of experience in some race cars. He's, as many people know, he's a pretty good driver and a good driver coach. So learning plenty and having a lot of fun.
Well, I'm just keeping an eye out because it may get thrown up to the boys if this gets much more willing up there. But just give us a take on your changeover of car now into McLaren, running GT4. Very different sort of car to what we've seen you out in more recently.
Yeah, so this is our good friend Chris Papps' car. So unfortunately, due to some unforeseen circumstances, he couldn't be racing here this weekend. So he's allowed Dad and I to team up together, which is the first time we've ever done it. So yeah, we're just trying to have some fun. It's the older gen McLaren compared to the newer ones that Chaz runs. So we're just having a good time out there.
All right, I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks very much.
Speaking of Flash before the race, he said it's like a Norwell shootout. We're just not in Toyota 86s anymore in that 570S. It's the older model GT4 car from McLaren, so they're having to drive it pretty hard to keep up. This is a great battle. While we were hearing from the guys in the lane, Antonio Astudi had a fairly sizable moment on the exit of Siberia last time around. Got a wheel off on the outside, big dose of oversteer. It's interesting watching that Meguiar, the thing bouncing on corner exit when it's all loaded up.
It's very stiffly sprung and very, very stiff in roll as well. So that's actually the tyre deformation, and you see that when it leaves Siberia. So I wonder whether that side rock maybe just stepped the car out, and that's why he dropped the wheel. Got your attention, Richard Craill, when he left Siberia last time, and Cody Birch is not going to need a second invitation here. And you can just see how hard they're both driving their cars. When they left Honda, turn 4 the previous lap, they're both sideways on the gas. These two, you can tell they don't pay the bills because they're not afraid to have a crack. And it's great to see these cars being driven at the limit like this. And they're moving around. They don't have the same aero as GT3 cars, so they will move around more. They've got a smaller tyre. The lap time's not as fast, but don't tell me the racing's not as exciting because these two are going at it.
Both of these brands looking for a win this season in Monochrome GT4. So it's the outright lead and the silver class. Steve Jackick still being caught by Shane Smollen for Pro-Am. It's 3.6 seconds there, so no battle yet, but it looks like that's brewing with car number 1 chasing down for the class lead, and Anthony Levitt still leads the way in the AM class in 11th with Mark Griffith next, about 5 seconds behind. So no battle there. This is the battle on the racetrack. It is for the win. And it's between two really fast, really talented young drivers putting on a great show. Sam Brabham and Tim Lay will be watching on from the pit lane bunkers here at Phillip Island. Combination of enjoyment and stress, I'm sure, watching on. And I don't know if Antonio can drive that car any harder than it's currently being driven.
Yeah, but they're both driving it very well. I mean, it's not like Antonio's moving in the braking zone or chopping Cody Bircher up. So Bircher's having a good look and trying to put him under pressure. And this lap, it was Bircher having the big moment, leaving Siberia and giving Antonio and Studi a bit of a breathing space as they make their way up over Lukey Heights. But both still racing really well, driving really well. Nothing really going wrong yet at this stage. But Rich, there's just under 15 minutes left in this one, and as every minute ticks by, the intensity level will rise. Doesn't look like anyone's got any obvious advantage at the moment because, you know, this gap opens and closes regardless of whether each one of them makes a mistake effectively, and that's just how hard the cars are being driven right now.
14.5 minutes to go, and all of a sudden the timing screens lit up with colour. Everyone setting personal best sectors, but the quickest car on the racetrack right now is Tom Heyman in 4th place. The Method Motorsport McLaren, remember, had that extra pit stop time. They lost 10 seconds. He's within 10 seconds of this battle for the lead. As they slow themselves up, he is flying and has just set the fastest lap of the race for that car at a 1:35.7. Oscar Target in 3rd place, the 36.7 last time by. So a full second quicker than McLaren to the Ginetta at this point in the race. There's still a bit to play out in this one.
Although these two are battling very, very hard, their last lap was only within sort of 2 to 3 tenths of their peak lap time. So whilst the cars are moving around and they're battling and they're both looking for track position over each other, it's not costing them a huge amount of time. Target in the Ginetta doesn't have the speed of the leaders nor of Heyman, who's closing in on him. That gap now under 4 seconds. Look back here to Ryland Gray, who's chased down Jake Camilleri. Don't forget Ryland Gray, who took over from George Miedeke they had the longest pit stop of our front runners, given that that car was the race winner last time out in its class, so it had an extra 5 seconds added to its pit stop, or an extra 15 seconds added to its pit stop.
So bit in this is the battle for the Pro-Am lead. We'll keep an eye, don't worry, on what's going on out in front, but Astutia's just got a little buffer zone at the moment. This is the battle for the Pro-Am race win. So Shane Smollen has hauled that margin down to Steve Jackick in the BMW. They're 7th and 8th on the road, but this is for the class win. And Jackick's making it very, very difficult. In behind is Zoe Woods in 9th outright. She's not in the same class, but would very much like to inject herself into this battle in the TechWorks car. Zoe's been driving superbly this year. Great run, and that is the class lead. Shane Smollen, he's got number 1 on the side of that car for a reason, and the Porsche moves to the point in the Pro-Am class.
So Zoe Woods trying to go with it. This one not for class position, and that's Paul Morris. He doesn't need a second invitation, just takes that opportunity. Thank you very much. I'll get 2 for the price of 1. Keeps that momentum up, and Woods does slide through on Jackick. Back to the lead outright down at turn 4, and Astudi and Birch are still going at it. And for me, it's who gets out of Siberia each lap that's got the best run. There's Sam Brabham watching on. Hard to tell that he's David Brabham's son, is it?
The apple hasn't fallen far from the tree right there. There is David.
Sam just explaining to David what's going on, as if David's just not a normal racing dad.
Chris Batzios in the back of shot, so driving with David Brabham. I'm still not quite sure he can believe that that's a sentence that gets used, but he's loving it nonetheless. You'll see them in Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. This is just a nice little taste tester for what's to come as we watch Rylan Gray on Jake Camilleri. So this is for 5th and 6th. They're running down into MG. While the leaders continue their little battle. So Tom Heyman's now 1.8 seconds behind Oscar Target for 3rd as well. So there's battles everywhere you look at the moment in the final 12 minutes of Monochrome GT4 on a sweet, sweet Saturday Arvo here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Hard to know where to point the cameras at the moment. They're all squabbling over position.
So Bircher again trying to set up the entry to turn 2 with a wider entry so he can square off the exit. You can see there he's narrower, and actually Astudi was quite wide that lap. And that enabled Bircher to get up the inside. No, he wasn't, and Bircher drops the wheel as they tip it into turn 3. You don't want to do that too often. Now Astudi's going to cover the inside line. Bircher down the outside. Tries to get to the rear, well, basically to the driver's door to go right around the outside. He isn't able to do that. And you can just see the different strengths and weaknesses of these cars. It's like an elastic band, Rich. It's just opening and closing. Now here's Gray. Oh, he's got the rears locked as he throws it up the inside of Camilleri at turn 4 and does get the job done. That's position for 5th and 6th. Gray up to 5th. And actually, it's an interesting, I'm just keeping an eye on the gap to the lead, because remember the 35 car had a 15-second extras in the pit stop compensation time over these 2 cars. 35 car is 14.2 seconds behind the race lead. So that's effectively, if you take that 15 seconds out, this would be a battle for 1, 2, 3. So the compensation target has worked really, really nicely in this one. And it'll go back in their favour tomorrow should these 2 cars stay at the front.
Yeah, if they finish outside the top 3, there's no penalty for the Mustang tomorrow. So they will play the long game. The meter keys have been around this long enough to know how this all plays out. Great stuff at MG, and then turn 11 between these 2. And this is as close as Cody Birch has been. Astudi's going to have to defend at turn 1. Birch is going to go the long way around this time. One of the boldest, bravest passes to make a move. He uses all of the road on the exit, but gets it done at turn 1. And after attempt after attempt after attempt, the BMW wrestles the lead away from Antonio Astudi, but it's not done yet. There's a sister car just up the road that he's got to play with. So the Love Motorsport cars here, the little sandwich. Is there a helping hand? Well, he's not doing any favours at the moment for Bircher. Looking to put the sister car number 17 a lap down, and it's just keeping Antonio Astudi in the game at the moment.
Oh, that was smart by Bircher. He didn't try and go around the outside and put himself in a bad position for the entry to Siberia. He waited. Ultimately, the Love car did get out of the way and do the right thing, but don't think that Antonio Astudi is just going to give up after that. And it felt to me, when the roles were reversed and Bircher was behind Astudi, that there was no obvious strength for either car. They had their different strengths and weaknesses. And Astudi's still going with Bircher, so he can use the slipstream down the front straight for his advantage this time. Oh, very different line for Astudi. Bircher really trying to set up the big slingshot run onto the front straight. Astudi maybe not quite as good a run there. And that's what worked for Bircher last time round. He set up that big, long slingshot run onto the front straight, used that momentum, and got the job done around the outside at turn 1. You don't often see successful passing moves around the outside of turn 1 for anywhere, let alone the outright lead of the race.
Okay, so we've settled that one for the moment. Let's go back and have a look at the battle for 3rd and 4th, shall we? Oscar Target and Tom Heyman, two more fast, young, really talented racing car drivers on the pathway up to success. So this is for 3rd position now. And the Ginetta under pressure from the McLaren. You used the line before, the little cottage industry manufacturer dealing with the weight of one of the great supercar manufacturers and a Formula One team just in behind. So Tom Heyman, who's been very, very speedy in all sorts of categories over the last couple of years, Trans Am racing in particular, and he's going to have a big send down the inside here for 3rd place at Honda and wrestles the position away. So Heyman now gets himself up and can Target fight back.
It just looks to me as though Target was struggling a little bit for car balance throughout this one. Doesn't have the pace of the top 3, so it was smart not to battle too hard for that position.
When this now is for the Pro-Am class lead. There's battles everywhere in this race. It's cool. 6 minutes and 50 seconds to go. This one far from decided, and Shane Smolin has got Paul Morris, winner of the Bathurst 12-hour, the 6-hour and the 1,000, locked up behind him.
Ever understated Nash Morris said, oh, the old man goes all right.
Goes okay.
Goes okay. So we were talking about the battle between Smolin and Jackick for the Pro-Am race win, and then Paul Morris arrived on the scene, carved his way through a couple of cars, and he's got himself onto the rear bumper of Smolin now. And Smolin will know the challenge of having someone like Paul Morris behind him. Shane Smolin's done a lot of racing, particularly in the Porsche product. Carrera Cup, Cup Challenge, and various production car type racing. So he would have gone to battle with Paul Morris before and understands the battle that he will face for the remaining 6 minutes of this one.
And a little bit later on this afternoon, Paul will drive a Porsche for the team and the co-driver that Nash races for in Carrera Cup, if that makes sense. Scott Taylor Motorsport with Scott Taylor in a 911 GT3R in the trophy class in Fanatec GT World Challenge. Zoe Woods is hanging on to the back of Shane Smolin and Paul Morris, and I think doing a super job.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Even when the battle pack was a little bit more alive, Zoe Woods was right in the middle of it all.
In fact, it took half a second out of them last time round, so she's actually faster than the 2 cars in front, one of which a GT4 champ, the other one we've just rattled off the CV. Out in front, Cody Birch is setting purple sectors, which means he's going quicker than anyone. And that clean air working for the BMW. Antonio Astudi now 1.5 behind in second. Tom Heyman 3rd in the McLaren. And this is the battle for the Pro-Am victory with Smolin, Morris, Woods not in it for Pro-Am, but in it for pride. And just to prove that she can run with these guys, which she absolutely has done so. The car that Morris is driving is the older spec McLaren GT4 car. So we've talked about the Method Motorsport cars. That's the Artura. This is the 570S GT4, so older spec. And Nash said today, mate, the thing is a road car. It's got the standard road car dash. It has all the standard road car stuff inside. A few more safety bits and pieces, and go-kart racing. Slick tyres from Pirelli, that's about it. So they're having to drive that thing very, very hard to keep up with the later generation cars in the category, but proving pretty effective at the moment. Chasing down Shane Smolin. Remember, we heard from Shane at the start of the race about some tyre management needed for that Porsche. And perhaps that's just playing a role. Let's see what Shane's got, if indeed it comes down to a fight like we've seen so much of.
The Method Motorsport crew watching on, watching their main man Shane Smolin deal with Paul Morris and Chaz Mostert, one of the team owners, and the man with the headset on standing next to Chaz is Sam Scafidi, who is Chaz's race engineer in the Supercars Championship. So Chaz has got his current engineer with him working for him at Method Motorsport, and his old engineer working for him in the GT3 program. I hope Chaz is paying them both, because they've both helped him to plenty of race wins over the journey. So now that Chaz is a team owner and a race car driver with another team, and he's brought these guys along, he's at least buying them dinner.
It's just been pointed out to me by proud dad Rob Woods that Zoe's chasing her driver coach as well. So Zoe, a member of the Norwell team who goes out there in Queensland and cuts laps at the Dudes Driver Training Ranch. So the Woods family, Rob owns TechWorks Motorsport, who have built a really good racing program. They've had success this year in Sprint Challenge Porsches and round winners in Carrera Cup with David Russell, building their GT4 program. They're running that Ryder Quinn, Steve Jackick, I should say, BMW this weekend as well. And Zoe doing great things in that innovation race cars. G'day to Danny Studdard, who I'm sure is watching on from afar. Danny drove this car with Zoe in the 3-hour Enduro at Queensland Raceway last time out and did a really nice job as well. So this is an entertaining battle. It is for the lead in the Pro-Am class. 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Monochrome GT4 Australia. It's been a ripper. Great race. Cody Bircher had to work for it as Morris just sticks the nose out into some clean air on the run into turn 1, but there's no move forthcoming at this point. Porsche v McLaren. I feel like that story's been told before, hasn't it?
In global sports car racing, that's happened once or twice in the past. Smollen really slowed up in the mid-corner at turn 2 there, and Paul Morris got a good run, but then Smollen, because of really squaring the car up for the exit off 2s, gets a good run down through 3 and into the braking zone at Honda. It doesn't really need to defend. Here comes Zoe Woods. She's going to get it, throws it up the inside of the teacher, Paul Morris. Thank you very much. I don't care if you're racing for the race win in your class. I'm going to now become, the student has now become the teacher. Morris now trying to throw it back up the inside. Nice racing from Zoe Woods, gives him a little bit of room. Paul Morris returns the favour on exit. That sort of, I reckon that woke Paul Morris up.
I agree. Now, you and I both know Paul pretty well. He will simultaneously be extremely proud of Zoe and very angry,
very frustrated
for being past. Conflicting emotions for Dude. What it has allowed is Shane Smollen just to have a little bit of a breath and get that margin out in the Porsche. Cayman 718, that's the TechWorks team. Tom McLennan on the left. Boys watching on, and they're really enjoying that battle. Zoe doing an awesome job.
It has. It's absolutely woken Paul Morris up. Look at, he's driven and right up to the rear bumper now, Shane Smollen.
The best thing about it was this is absolutely a Paul Morris move as well. Full commitment, full send.
Absolutely pack the bags and send it up the inside. Thank you very much. And does it nicely, gives Paul just enough room on the exit of Honda, and they continue to battle on up to Siberia and go side by side. But yeah, I think now Paul Morris has decided, with under a minute to go in this one, if I'm going to get the job done, I need to get the job done now, because otherwise Zoe Woods is going to put me a spot back inside the top 10.
The storylines that play out in these races are terrific, aren't they? The 718 Cayman GT4 has been a very good thing, very closely based on the road car. Basically take the 4-litre flat 6 out of the GT3 RS road car and plonk it in the much smaller, much lighter Cayman and send it. And Porsche tend to do factory racing cars pretty well, and that car among them doing a nice job. So out of the final corner and to the start-finish line comes young Cody Bircher from Orange in country New South Wales. It's a racing part of the world with a huge amount of importance and heritage. The Lay family inexorably linked with that part of the world, and Bircher looking to make his name. Tim runs the Central West Prestige business, adorned on the bonnet of that car, and the Lay Motor Group, very successful operator. Rocks up at Mount Panorama every Easter at the Bathurst 6-hour in the production car race with his good mate Will Davison, and Berwick Linton had a win there. Up until this year, he was still the quickest ever guy around Mount Panorama in a production car, Tim Lay. He can properly steer, and he's going to be a very happy boy in a minute's time. Wait for the checkered flag to drop. So the checkered flag flies 1 lap after the time elapses in this 1-hour race, which it has. And this battle's not done yet either.
Morris still ranging up onto the rear bumper of Shane Smollen. This battle for the win in Pro-Am continues. This is 7th and 8th outright. Zoe Woods again ranging up onto the rear bumper of Paul Morris. She sent it up the inside at Honda again one more time. We'll wait and see when we get down there. But Cody Bircher raced beautifully with Antonio Astudi earlier in this one. That was a great battle between the two of them, but was able to get around the outside of turn 1, put his head down and open a small gap.
This has been a really impressive drive. It was anchored by Tim Lay after not a brilliant start. Dropped a few positions early, and confirmation that they've just started the final lap now for Motorsport Australia race control. So 4.46 Ks to go for Cody Bircher.
So that gap, first to second, 1.8 seconds. This battle for 7th, 8th and 9th, it's got one more lap left in it, Rich.
It gives us another 90 seconds to enjoy this, because it's been thoroughly entertaining. This has been a great race the whole way through. I love the way they ebb and flow, and it plays itself out over the course of an hour and a bit of racing. So this is for the class win, remember. AM class is still being led by Anthony Levitt. He's in 10th position outright and has got a bit of margin over his rivals around him. So the McLaren looking pretty strong on debut in the GT4 class for Method Motorsport. And he's really enjoying that process of racing with that team and the people around him as well. And this is actually for position. Jakic and Jacob Lawrence in 3 and 32. It's not for class honours, but 11th and 12th on the road. And that's actually giving Levitt a little bit of breathing room in that AM class win, because Lawrence had got relatively close to the back of the McLaren that leads the way, that is 10th outright. But I think that might be enough for Levitt to bring it home. He's just started the final lap. This guy's just started the final 2 corners. A terrific performance. The strategy worked out a treat. He then had to work really, really hard for this one. He fought his way to the front. And with Tim Lay, Cody Bircher etches his name as a Monochrome GT4 race winner. The BMW is on top at Saturday at the GT Festival in a really, really entertaining car race. Antonio Astudi and Sam Brabham will get across the line in 2nd position for Love Motorsport and the Mercedes AMG McLaren, 3 different brands in the top 3, and chased to the line by Ryland Gray. And the Mustang ends up finishing 4th.
Well done, man. Well done.
And continuing the trend, Garth, Oscar Target P5 with 5 different brands in the top 5 at the end of this. Now this is the class win on the line. Pro-Am, Shane Smolin and Paul Morris. Shane's just got to navigate turn 12 and get that Porsche pointed straight, and he will win the Pro-Am class after a really tough fought race. Perhaps tougher than we might have first thought. And Smolin gets the job done. So that's a win for the Porsche over the McLaren. And then we wait for Tony Levitt to bring his McLaren out of the final corner. And he's about to grab the AM class victory as well. So that's going to be a really impressive drive. And they're pushing hard. Levitt's going to set his fastest lap on the final lap of the race. He's coming to the line now, Tony Levitt, with Jacob Lawrence chasing him down.
So he does. Levitt crosses the line in the AM class fast first and sets his best lap of the race. Lawrence behind him, just behind him, 1.9 seconds, sets his fastest lap of the race. Don't tell me those two weren't pushing for the race win at the end.
That's impressive. 34 laps in an hour and 4 minutes of racing, and there they were going through turn 2. Levitt and Lawrence in the AM class. Well, great race. What a great way to start our coverage this afternoon here from the Phillip Island Grand Prix second. And well done, Cody Bircher and Timmy Lay. They get the win for BMW. Antonio Astudi and Sam Brabham next. Tom Heyman and Marcus Black round out the podium. The Pro-Am class went the way of Shane Smolin and Lockie Manif, just in front of Paul Morris and Nash, with the AM class going the way of Anthony Levitt in front of Jacob Lawrence and John Bowe. Another podium for the BMW team. Steve Jakic and Ryder Quinn, contenders early on, slipped back to 3rd in 12th position, I should say, at the end of that in their BMW. And Mark Griffith is going to get 3rd place in the AM class at the end of all of that. And all of that was a lot.
There was a lot of all that. Great race. I really enjoyed the battle at the front of the field between Bircher and Astudi.
Here's how it played out. Gartanda, Monochrome GT4 Australia, and a wild old start. So that was off the road Lachlan Manif in the Porsche that would ultimately hold on to win the class. The Mustang led early with George Medicki behind the wheel. Ryder Quinn was fast, and then this was the pass that would get him the net race lead early on, and also leading the way in the Pro-Am class with the Mustang under pretty serious pressure. We saw the safety car out early. Steve Jukes in the Audi R8. First start for that car. Ended up parked against the tyres down at turn 1. A lengthy safety car shuffled the field And then what would ultimately prove a pretty key move was Sam Brabham getting that job done on the McLaren on the restart. That got them some track position and got them in the mix to do this.
This was a great battle for the race lead. After the pit stop cycle, Oscar Target assumed the lead, but Astudi got the job done at Lukey Heights, and Cody Bircher around the outside at MG. It was great racing between these three young chargers, and Bircher was able to get past Target and then go on after Astudi. And then this move ultimately for the race win around the outside at turn 1, 260k an hour plus, just hang on the outside of the circuit to get the pass. It took him 5 or 6 laps to get that done. He was patient, and it was a beautiful move. The pit crew in pit lane were liking that one. That was Heyman getting the job done on Oscar Target and the Ganetta. And Heyman went on to finish third, but ultimately no one could touch this man, Cody Bircher. It was a sluggish start by Tim Lay right at the beginning, but they came home very, very strong. And that will be one very happy team at BMW.
The other storyline is from a championship point of view. Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman pull points out of Ryland Gray and George Medeke, who are leading coming into the weekend. So that closes it up at the pointy end of the Monochrome GT4 Australia standings. That was Tim Lay, and as cool and calm and collected as ever. And that's the Love Motorsport team there. Sam Brabham congratulating his teammate who drove superbly. And there's Tim and Cody. And the final few cars get down there to Victory Lane in Supercar Alley here at Phillip Island, with all of the manufacturers represented, and indeed some that aren't in GT homologation just yet. It's Tom Heyman. Stout drive from this team with Marcus Flack. And there is young Marcus. Two fast young guys in the sport coming up through the ranks. They're all getting themselves ready for a podium celebration. And that's the scene on a pretty stunning day here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Stick around though, because Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia still to come your way. There's the winner's photo. Outright win, and of course the silver class for Cody Bircher and Tim Lay here at Phillip Island. Gee, they fought so hard for that one. Bunch of different brands represented in the top 3 in that. We're going to hear from our winners in just a second when they get to the podium. Ash Seawood watching on. So Ash and his Ash Seawood Motorsport team runs that car for Tim Lay. Very successful race team based out of Victoria, running cars in Carrera Cup and GT racing. This was a good performance car.
Yep.
I enjoyed that.
And you made the point that it was really set up nicely by Sam Brabham early, and some of those start overtakes, got a couple, made 2 spots up off the initial start, then another start pass up the inside at the safety car restart, really played them in nicely. And Antonio Astudi fought valiantly against Cody Bircher, but ultimately came home second. They'll be happy with that.
Right, let's go and celebrate an absolute ripper in Monochrome GT4. Here's Cameron van der Dungen with the podium.
Welcome to the podium presentation for Monochrome GT4 Australia Round 4. Presenting the trophies today, Frank Mensah on behalf of Pirelli. Please welcome the top 3 place cars for the Pro-Am class. In 3rd place, Ryder Quinn, Steve Jackich, Thunder Buddies Racing. In 2nd place, Nash Morris and Paul Morris for Nemo Racing. We'll get both of the Morris boys to come straight through, jump up on the podium. And your 1st place drivers, Lachlan Manif and Shane Smolin for Method Motorsport. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia Pro-Am winners. And now for the celebrations. And now, please welcome the top 3 place cars for the AM Cup. In 3rd place, Mark Griffith, Team 19. Second place, drivers John Bow and Jacob Lawrence, Randall Racing. And in first place, Anthony Levitt, Method Motorsport. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia AM Cup class winners. And now for the celebrations.
No way.
Finally, please welcome the winners for the Silver Cup. 3rd place, Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman, Method Motorsport. And what a battle we saw for 1st and 2nd. In 2nd place, Sam Brabham and Antonio Astudi, Love Racing by Volante Rosso Motorsport. And in 1st place, Tim Lee and Cody Bircher for Tim Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia Silver Cup winners. And now for the celebrations.
Thanks to Cam van der Dungen down there. The celebrations for Monochrome GT4 Australia. Great stuff at Phillip Island and a really entertaining race. All 3 classes going right down to the wire. They'll be back tomorrow for another 1 hour of racing. We'll be back at Phillip Island shortly though, folks. Don't worry about that. Monochrome GT4 Australia was a warm-up for what is yet to come. Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. Some of the biggest names and fastest cars in the sport. They're coming your way next from Phillip Island. Perfect conditions here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, as it was early in the week when some of the world's finest GT machinery took a little drive across the iconic bridge that links San Remo to the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. A really cool activation, taking the racing cars to the people, and a lot of people turned out to see it as well. Autographs were signed and everyone had a really good time. And that was just the taste for what was to come this weekend. Welcome back to Phillip Island, to the SRO Australian GT Festival. Monochrome GT4 Australia will debrief deep into the night, I think, after an entertaining race. And we have got a great show to come this afternoon because Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia have rolled out of the lane, and some of the coolest cars driven by some of the biggest names in the sport will put on a show for the next hour. Incredible conditions here. The breeze continues to be reasonably brisk along the straight, but it is a stunning 18.6 degrees at the moment. It is peak warm conditions right now as we get set for this race. And there are so many storylines to play out in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia field. I'm Richard Crowe, with me Garth Tander. We've had a ripping day so far. We're looking forward to this. Qualifying was awesome. Liam Talbot's on pole for this with Brad Schumacher alongside. We've got Mercedes AMG on the grid as well with Aston Martin. Garth, the stage is set, and if that GT4 race was any indication, this one could go any which way.
Yeah, certainly the GT4 race was a fantastic one. Lots of different strategy, lots of pit stops, different alternate strategy when it came to the pit stop, and a great battle for the ultimate race win. So certainly hoping we see the same again in Fanatec GT. And the Ferraris have been very, very strong, Rich. They were very strong in qualifying. They were strong here in the past, the last time Australian GT came to Phillip Island. And when you're throwing Liam Talbot and Chaz Mostert the keys to one of the finest GT cars in the world, they will be a tough combination to beat.
That Ferrari's been an incredible addition this year. It's an incredible bit of kit, the 296, and has already had a lot of success in international GT racing, and Arise Racing, this team that stepped up from radical competition into GT World Challenge, has put on a show, and there is car number 1. So driver 2 starts this race, which means it's the AM drivers in the field in these Pro-Am combinations. So it means Liam Talbot will start car number 1. Chaz Mostert will jump in for the second half of the race. Brad Schumacher will start car number 87 from the outside of the front row. Will Brown will jump in for the second half, and so on. We'll run through some of those names in a sec, but I could see diving into the door of car number 1 was Cam van der Dungen.
He's sneaking on me from the commentary box well above us. Liam Talbot, mate, pole position, best place to start. You've got a great view of the coast, but a long race ahead.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen. Sometimes these races are a bit wild, as we saw at QR, but yeah, happy with pole position. Let's see what we can do.
I just want to take you back to Phillip Island earlier this year for the GT race then. There was a bit of a moment coming out of the pits, going back, and you had to, I think, power cycle it coming back onto the track. I guess any of those thoughts just completely behind you going forward? You want a bit of redemption here because you were quick then as well.
Yeah, I mean, the car's good, so haven't been thinking about that. Obviously, you know, bit of a mistake there, but you never stop learning, and let's see what we can do.
I'll let you get your race face on. Good luck, Liam.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we just heard from the Ferrari that the car is good. Brad Schumacher is on standby. How's the car looking for you guys?
Yeah, car feels really good this weekend. We worked really hard on setup with the extra practice time we had, and so yeah, it's a really nice stable platform at the moment. And yeah, obviously the track's super gripped up, and so yeah, it's really all going to be about tyre deg. Obviously there's been a couple of failures with the rear right tyres on the Audis, so we've had to yeah, take some camber out of the rear and add a little bit more tyre pressure, but we'll see how it goes.
What's it going to take to lead into turn 1? That's a brilliant view, isn't it? Heading down into turn 1, but you've got a Ferrari alongside you.
It's the best view in Australia here on a racetrack into turn 1 looking at the ocean. But yeah, look, it's the clean side of the circuit here on P2, which is fortunate for me. But obviously, yeah, Liam is a super committed character, so no doubt he's going to be sticking it up the inside. But yeah, can't plan for these things, just see it play it as it comes.
Good luck, mate. Well done.
Thanks. Hi, Elise, Chelsea and Jasmine. I know you're watching back home.
I'm actually going to grab Alex Peroni as we swing off the grid because of the 2-minute board as well. But Alex, mate, great time out at Queensland Raceway. Confidence going into this weekend?
Yeah, no, we're feeling good. We're running the high. Mark did an amazing job in quali, so we've got a good starting position. And yeah, let's see if we can have a good one.
All right, come with me. We're going to stay chatting to you while we leave the grid. I'll get the camera to swing around. He'll be able to work himself backwards. Abby's kicking me off the grid right now as well. Just quickly, what confidence have you got in this car? What do you think you've got on the 2 in front of you?
Yeah, I think we're good. We rolled out pretty quick. As I said, Mark did an amazing job in quali. And yeah, we've got a good starting position. It's hard to pass here, so hopefully we can just stay in our position and finish well.
All right, big smile on his face. He had a big smile at Queensland Raceway as well. Maybe he gets the job done again on Saturday.
Cam, thank you. And last time out at Queensland Raceway, this car was a race winner in a weekend that was a wild one up north. 4 different winners from the first 4 races. That's what you want, isn't it? Massively competitive. And we've had Audi, we've had Ferrari, and we've had Mercedes AMG topping the winners list. Queensland Raceway on a Saturday afternoon. Audi lockout on the front row. Great start. Mark Rosser in the middle of the pack in that pink and blue and white Audi. He squeezes down the inside. Now going to be under the control of the safety car. Oh, and off the Aston Martin.
And there they are, very busy pit lane.
And there's a massive spread behind. Gracie looking to get past Batsios. It's really busy. Look at the big move from Peroni up the inside. And Gracie's turned around. And there's a big impact from the Grove car. Brenton Grove had nowhere to go there. A big contact. Off the road is Will Brown. Off the road is the Ferrari of Chaz Mostert as well. An incredibly dramatic Fanatec GT World Challenge race. Comes down to a 10-minute shootout. And down the inside goes Leach. Well, 2 laps ago, that 10-second penalty would have put him 9th. Right now, a 10-second penalty will put him 4th.
The race win is going to come out of these 2 cars right here.
This is for the win. 7.5 seconds up the road. Brendan Leach is going to cross the line first, but he has a 10-second penalty. Alex Peroni and Mark Rosser will be the 5th different winner from 5 races this season. All the balls are in the air. Let's see where they land in this one. And we're underway, and Will Brown aggressive, squeezing Jaden Ojeda to the inside and then goes to the outside at turn 1. The Ferrari of Mostert around the outside of Declan Fraser.
Oh, he's had a bit of a tank slapper there. He's actually hung onto it.
First few cars in pit lane.
With the Pro-Am window open, we'll get ready for some stops coming up.
Brad Schumacher has anchored this race to perfection. Taken 6 races, but we finally got a repeat winner in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, and it's Brad Schumacher and Will Brown. Well, the storylines to roll out of Queensland Raceway were lengthy, to be honest, and who knows what they're going to deliver us today at Phillip Island. There's the grid. We'll run through your favourite contenders. The cars are stacked and ready to launch. So we'll tell you where your favourite driver is as this race gets ready to go. Beautiful conditions at Phillip Island. They're lined up side by side. On the left of your screen is Liam Talbot, a champion in this category. Alongside him, Brad Schumacher. Behind Paul Stokel and Mark Rosser. Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. Race 1 at the island in round 4 is go, and the Ferrari gets a very good launch. Mark Rosser goes with him. Watch the ACM Finance car, and there's contact. Paul Stokel gets hip and shouldered out wide, and he's going to lose a couple of spots. Paul Lucchini's going to get down the inside. There is a correction. It's Peter Hackett, sorry. Lucchini's further down the field, but gets whacked by Stokel, and Hackett spins in front of the field. Everyone dives out of the way. Elliot Shute takes evasive action. One of the key contenders who rebounded so well in qualifying, eliminated early, and Peter Hackett has all the job to do now.
Elliot Shute in the number 8 Ferrari was also held up in that one, but Hackett around at turn 2, and there will certainly be more to that story. We'll unpack that one for you. As the rest of the field make their way through turn 4 and a Honda. That has spread the field considerably. So the rest of them now trying to effectively dust themselves up, pick themselves up and get on with it. Oh, but ultimately, Liam Talbot, he is, well, you guys can do what you want behind me, but I am out of here. And out of here he is over a second, but we haven't even completed the first lap. So Ross does a nice job to go second. Brad Schumacher already going to work on the rear bumper of the 81 Audi.
On a squeeze down the inside, Garth Walden was racing with Tim Miles. Walden leading the AM class. Tim Miles has got Brendan Leach to plug into the Dale ITM car in the second half of the race. And every time that's happened this year, exciting things have occurred afterwards. So looking forward to that, and that's still to come. So Rosser up a spot, he's next. Schumacher down one to third, Stokel fourth. But there is that contact to be looked at with the 888 car. Tim Miles fifth, so they've got some ground there in the Audi. Garth Walden next, Sergio Perez, a big winner out of all of that in the Valmont Racing number 44 car. Stephen Grove up from spots in 8th, Aston Martin 9th, and Elliot Shute lost ground in the second of the Arise Racing Ferraris. He's back down to 10th position.
So Rosser has done a nice job on the second lap and actually opened the gap to Schumacher. And now Stokel ranging up. So a bit of Audi Cup 2, 3, 4 and 5 with Tim Miles in 5th. Garth Walden and Sergio Perez. And here we go. Oh, Legenti has just absolutely tried to send it up the inside of the Aston Martin. And around goes Ross Palakis. And you'd have to wonder whether this car, whilst we love having it in Australia, somewhat has not had the luck. It's just landed on our shores. It's taken out early in the weekend at Queensland Raceway, and that is not the way to negotiate turn 4 on lap 2.
Twin turbo V8 Aston. It's a fast race car, and young Alex Gardner's been particularly speedy in it so far this weekend, but they're going to have the job to do now as well. Well, I mentioned the storylines all playing out. This is going to be a big one. Watch the blue and white OnlyFans Audi and the 888 car of Peter Hackett. There's the contact. Well, I don't know if you're going to have to spend a huge amount of time deliberating over that one in race control.
I don't think so. Stokel wasn't even close to getting side by side with Peter Hackett. It looked to me to be front to rear contact, but Motorsport Australia Race Control, Craig Baird, the driver standards observer, will have a look at that one. Look at the replays and adjudicate on that. We won't speculate on what might happen out of the back of that one, but for me, Richard Trail, it won't take long to adjudicate.
Yeah, fair call. Fair call. So Talbot by 2 seconds now. The 3 Audis then lockstep behind, with Tim Miles next being chased by Garth Walden, who leads the AM class. Then Sergio Perez, no, not the Red Bull driver under pressure. He's the Valmont Racing Audi driver who has been very speedy with his mate Marcel Zalua. Marcel had a little spin in qualifying that brought out the red flag in qualifying 1 earlier today, which sets the grid for the race tomorrow. Sergio was very fast, and they're going out to win races. They're not in the championship mix as the safety car is called. So we're going to go yellow, and that will bunch the field up. And Liam Talbot, all that work in the opening couple of laps where the seas parted behind him, will be undone, and the BMW M safety car will hit Gardner straight. The field will check up behind him.
It's good news, though, for Peter Hackett, who will close the gap up. Solve all the evils as we go inside the 888 Race Engineering bunker. Won't be too jovial in there right at the minute, Rich. They'll be pretty disappointed with the start to that one through no fault of their own. Trying to work out why we're on the BMW safety car, but we'll come to you with that as soon as we can.
It's waiting on official word for that at this point in time. Just our vantage point here is the best. There's a car off driver's right on the entry to Siberia. So the exit of turn 5 on the run-in. Some recovery vehicles going on down there. And I wonder if it could be...
Well, I was just looking at...
It's Paul Lucidi.
Lucidi or Palakis. Palakis is rolling, so it might be Lucidi in that 66 AMG Mercedes that made contact with the Aston Martin Ross Palakis down at turn 4.
Cameron?
I thought I'd jump in and have a chat to Renee Gracie, and I guarantee she knows why I'm coming down to have a chat. The incident on lap 1, how did you see it, Renee? We haven't heard anything from race control, but I just thought I'd check in with you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Come on, you were watching it. I saw your hand movements watching it, talking to the team as well. What was your read?
Racing incident, just like at QR maybe.
Well, yeah, fair point, because you got caught up in a massive amount of action at QR. Good to see you back racing here as well. We talked to Paul before this session during qualifying, and he was talking about how you've come on in leaps and bounds since we had almost this exact chat earlier this year. How do you feel confidence with the car and yourself within it?
I feel like I'm driving the best I've ever driven, to be honest. The results probably aren't quite showing, but I'm really proud of myself and how far I've grown, and I'm learning so much about these cars. Learning aero and how to drive them fast is a whole new world to me, and I think I'm doing really well in myself, and I'm really happy with how I'm going, but you always want a result and you always want to go as fast as you can and be further up the field. So I've sort of got to push that aside and just be really happy with what I'm doing and achieving.
And you must be very happy with what Paul Stokel's delivering as well. We were talking about he's almost in career best form the way he's driving.
Oh, Paul is amazing. I've learnt so much from him, so I definitely can say that I've improved just being paired with him. He is incredible. He has so much experience. He knows so much. The way he thinks, the way he talks, the way he moves in the car is just nothing like I've ever experienced before. To have that hand in hand, walking through everything with someone with that much experience is just invaluable for me.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
Down at 888 Race Engineering, I'm always here when it's bad news. Declan Fraser is going to step into the car later on. That Mercedes, how is it?
Yeah, I think I said to you before, you always come in when something bad happens, need something good. But yeah, it seems all good. I think Paul just outbroke himself a little bit on the cold tyres and got on the back of us. So bit of a shame. We have a 5-second penalty as well because we got third at Queensland Raceway. So we're trying to build on that as much as possible, but now we're right at the back. So Pete's already doing an awesome job. He's come through a fair few, and we'll just keep pushing forward and see where we end up.
What did you make of the incident early on?
It's just cold tyres, I guess, cold brains. It's just everyone's going first lap, but it is what it is. So we just got to push on. We've got a fast car and we'll just keep going.
No issues with the car. You had the pedal box issue in qualifying. That's all resolved at the moment, you can confirm?
Yeah, so it was a very, I guess, rush job to get it done, but the team done a fantastic job. They hooked in, got it done. I think it was 3 minutes before rolling out, and they were like, all right, Pete, get in the car, we're all done. So, so far, so good. No damage on the car from that incident, and yeah, we'll keep pushing.
Beautiful. Good luck for your stint later on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Nice work. Stay out of the 888 garage, though. I think we won't be welcome
Won't
there.
be invited back in the future, Jonathan.
No.
Welcome to the life as a pit reporter.
Exactly. So confirmation, the reason the safety car was the Mercedes AMG of Paul Lucchetti, unfortunately out of the race. The car was stranded and parked off the side of the road on the entry to Siberia, which is that left-hand corner at the bottom end. Good afternoon for some go-karting. There's a ripper go-kart track too, a replica of the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. And for someone as slow as I am, Garth, you only have to brake once in that lap.
You brake on that track, Rich?
I do. Not all of us.
Maybe we'll head down this afternoon and do a commentary challenge.
I like it.
Not great to see this car in the lane, the 38 Aston Martin. Crew going to work underneath, so hoping they can get this sorted under safety car. This certainly won't count as their compulsory pit stop, but if they can fix any evils and get themselves back out before going down a lap, the safety car will be beneficial for them.
Let's jump back down to the lane with Cam.
Yeah, I was just having a quick chat with Jaden Ojeda here. Unfortunately, car out of the race, mate. Can you tell us what happened and what's been going on with the team?
Yeah, just unfortunately Paul made a slight mistake, a little bit too deep into turn 4, and unfortunately the Aston was just a passenger and an innocent bystander. So unfortunate way to end the race. Picked up some steering damage, so that's us.
Oh, well, we go again tomorrow.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks, Jaden.
Thank you.
I just spoke to Valentino Astudi over at the Aston Martin car, and they said it's an alarm issue with the car. They're trying to figure out what the problem is at the moment, but they should be out there hopefully in any moment's time.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. They should hopefully get to the back of the safety car queue because the lights are out now on the BMW M safety car, and there is a little class battle going on there. Just 2 cars in trophy class for the older specification GT3 cars. Darren Curry behind the wheel with Valentino Astudi to jump in that car for the second half of the race. Scott Taylor and Paul Morris driving the 222 Porsche. Shame for Jaden Ojeda. Was looking forward to seeing what he did in the second half of this race when he took over that car, but he will start from the very pointy end of the field in race 2 tomorrow. So watch that. Don't go anywhere and keep an eye on the action from the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Back with more racing tomorrow. Still 50 minutes of racing in this one. A safety car restart. Liam Talbot will lead Mark Rosser to the line, and all of that advantage that Liam worked hard for at the start of the race has disappeared, and it's now a flat-out sprint to the pit stop window opening. And the Ferrari slowly leads a plethora of Audi R8s, line astern, all 4 of them locked together. And then back to the first of the Mercedes AMGs, driven very capably by Garth Walden. 15-second time penalty, car 181. Paul Stokel for a driving infringement on lap 1. So The swift hand of justice has come down. He will have 15 seconds added to his race time, or indeed the pit stop, when they serve their compulsory stop.
Oh, Schumacher, almost a rinse and repeat of lap 1, turn 2 with Stokel and Hackett, this time between Schumacher and Rosa. And they get through that one. And again, Liam Talbot is taking advantage of those squabbling behind him, got his head down, and has already opened 1.1 seconds. Oh, Schumacher absolutely sends it way too deep at turn 4. Rosa did a nice job to actually open the wheel and let Schumacher carry on, because he was headed all the way to Antarctica. And now Stokel trying to take advantage. Don't forget that car's got a 15-second time penalty as well. Wow, what a restart lap. Schumacher, that's been costly. He has dumped himself right to the back of the field. And man, he packed his bags and he was on his way to Antarctica. That's how deep he was. The thing was never stopping at turn 4.
Right to the very back with a pit stop time coming as well, because they were the first repeat winners in the championship last time out at Queensland Raceway. Well, another contender bites the dust. The more critical thing for that team is they're second in the championship, only 1 point behind Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot. They have potentially thrown an enormous amount of points away in the battle for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. Now, another class leader who doesn't want to lead at the moment is Scott Taylor, who's come off the road in 222. So all the deficit that the trophy class Aston lost with that pit stop, they're going to get back now and buy themselves back into the trophy class fight. Taylor recovering in the older spec 991 early gen GT3R.
It's big damage on the front of that one, Rich, so there's more to that story for Scott Taylor in the 222 Porsche. This battle resumes for second place. So Stokel's still free to race on, because he needs to make as much time as he can before that pit stop, given they've added 15 seconds as a penalty to his pit stop time.
Confirmation of when that pit window will open, so the AM cars and trophy cars get to stop first. They've got a 5-minute window that opens 25 minutes into the race and closes at the end of that sort of 10 minutes, 35 minutes in. And then the pros have got 5 minutes to make their stop, from 30 minutes to 35, as Stokel has another look down the inside. So the cars first and second have no additional pit stop time to take in this race. And this is that moment with Schumacher. And there was good heads-up driving, room given, and then out in the marbles on the outside of the road on that painted green runoff area, which is only a recent addition down there at turn 4. And a nice 360-degree burnout for Brad Schumacher. The Bathurstian, though, right down to 13th position and has a job to do. And indeed, Will Brown will get into that car for the second half of the race. He's going to have to drive that thing incredibly hard. So, a reset. Liam Talbot now leads by 1.9 seconds. Mark Rosser is second. Alex Peroni to jump in that car for the second half. Paul Stokel is third. 15-second penalty coming their way for contact with 888. Renee Gracie to jump in that car at the pit stop. Tim Miles is fourth on the road. They carry 10 seconds on account of finishing second last time out at Queensland Raceway. But they're in a pretty good position at the moment to continue their run of podium finishes. Both races at Queensland Raceway, that Dial ITM Audi was on the podium and spraying the champagne. Garth Walton leads the way in the AM class over Sergio Perez. This is the battle we're watching. Behind them is the Ferrari of Elliott Chute, looking to make up some ground. He's 7th, but he needs to get himself a bit up the order, so Jackson Evans has got something to work with when he jumps in the second of the two Arise racing cars.
So Mark Rosa has actually really started to close this gap down to Liam Talbot. It's taken nearly 4/10 of a second out of Talbot's lead on this lap. So whilst he has to keep one eye on the rear vision mirror and Paul Stokel back in third, his eyes are firmly focused on Liam Talbot up the road. Talbot had great cold tyre pace both at the start and the safety car restart, but Rosa, yeah, he took 3.5 tenths out of Liam Talbot's lead there. So the gap first to second down to 1.6 seconds. And I did not have this on the bingo card going into this one, Rich. Well, Mark Rosa, no disrespect to him, but he is having a breakout day in his GT career.
Yeah, amazing job in qualifying. Put that car third on the grid against some hugely experienced guys. Mark spent a couple of seasons racing S5000 open wheelers. Did a Bathurst 12-hour in this car and had a really good day. They had some issues late in the race that ultimately cost them a finish, but he's been building up his CV. He's got a Benetton Formula 1 car as well, which isn't a bad thing to cut some laps in every now and then. Brad Schumacher flying further down in the field, as you would expect, fastest lap of the race, but he is a long way off the lead, 15 seconds in fact, and then he'll add that at the pit stop because they've got 15 seconds of time penalty added to their 90-second pit stop time.
So he's effectively 30 seconds longer in pit lane than Liam Talbot. Ouch. So it's a whole lot of pain there. Well, 15 seconds time gap plus the 15 seconds in the pit stop. So as good as Will Brown is travelling at the moment as a race car driver, he's not going to catch Chaz Mostert that much without some safety car help in their stint after the pit stop window.
Let's go a little bit further back. This is the fight with Stephen Grove and Peter Hackett. So comeback trail for Hackett, former Australian GT champion, Australian Formula 3 champion way back when in 2001 in a car that was sponsored by Benny Clemenco at the time, well pre-Erebus Motorsport days. Hollywood was part of that team when they entered into GT racing with the SLS AMG in 2012, finished at Bathurst. Had success on the mountain as well, and that was the genesis of Erebus Motorsport. Of course, that story now well told and well documented. So Pete, it's been great to see him back. He still heads up Mercedes AMG's driver training set up here in Australia and their corporate experiences. Affable guy, works hard on his motorsport, and it's been cool to see Declan Fraser have a good crack in that car this year as well, and just remind people how capable he is. So that safety car worked well. And with the penalty coming to car 181, who's still involved in this fight with Mark Rosser for second and third position, there's still a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for 888 Race Engineering.
Yeah, certainly is. This battle, though, rages on. And Talbot on the previous lap was able to get up the road a little bit and open the gap first to second, now just over 2 seconds, whilst Mark Rosser has to deal with Paul Stokel terrorising the rear bumper of his Audi. Stokel's been pretty animated, hasn't he? He's been a very aggressive start to this race, and you can just tell by the body language of this car that he's up for it in this one. Car's up on its toes, if you like, dancing around. If Rosa gives him half an opportunity, Stokel will take it. Here's Brad Schumacher fighting back. So passes Asamadi into turn one. That brings Schumacher up into 10th spot. So whilst it's welcome to get yourself inside the 10, the gap first to second is the important thing, and now the gap, Liam Talbot to Brad Schumacher, out to 17 seconds. So now Stokel has got the job done, and it's important for him because he needs to put his head down. Remember that 15-second time penalty. He effectively has clear air now, and he needs to basically spend the next 10 or 15 minutes he has in this car doing qualifying lap after qualifying lap.
The other interesting thing is that Team BRM ACM Finance car has no pit stop time either. They won race 1 at Queensland Raceway, not race 2. So all penalties were cleared after that. So they bode pretty well if Rosser can bring that car in the top 3 to young Alex Peroni, who returned from Europe from his pathway to Formula 1 and a little bit of time in the United States as well, and Indy Next. Proven race winner this season as well. Let's see if they can translate that into a race result. Talbot comfortably out in front. This continues to be the fight between the Valmont Racing Audi of Sergio Perez and Elliot Chute just in behind. Elliot in the second of the Arise Racing cars with Jackson Evans to jump in that car. He's one of the busiest guys in global motorsport at the moment, and one of the more diverse as well. So Porsche at the Bathurst 12 Hour, Supercar for Brad Jones Racing, Ferrari for Arise Racing. He pops back and forth to Europe, does some testing, comes back to Australia, jumps in the supercar, goes over and does some endurance races, comes back, lives on the Gold Coast. Don't know how much time he gets to spend at home.
He stores his things on the Gold Coast.
Correct, yes.
Spends most of his life in an aeroplane.
It's an address for the passport, and that's about it. But he's been a good addition and brings a huge amount of experience to that team. And to your point, you've just pointed at the timing monitor because there's a whole lot of colour alongside Mr. P. Stokel at the moment. He is going very quickly and trying to hunt down that lead to Liam Talbot. A bit of damage limitation there for the Audi Custom Sport Racing entry. A great team headed up by Troy Russell and Lee Burley down there, based in Melbourne's southeastern suburbs. the world's biggest race team workshops. We can park 4 transporters inside and a fleet of Audi R8s.
Oh, it's easily the biggest race team workshop in Australia.
100%.
Yeah. You can probably fit 2 of most of every other one race team inside the MPC facility. It is huge. Impressive place that it is.
They just continue to punch out results, MPC and Audi Customer Sport Racing Australia. Some questions over the future of Audi's GT program with their future announced in Formula One, purchasing the Sauber team, but the R8 will be homologated all the way through, I think, until 2031. This car can continue to compete. So the R8 is here to stay. It is the most proven platform in global GT3 racing. It's won all the big races, much as its first generation cousin did as well. And it continues to be a force and a great product. As Chute looks down the inside, but there's no room there at the moment. Perez just opened the door slightly, but it wasn't enough for the young West Aussie to squeeze through. And meanwhile, they've got Garth Walden in front for GWR Australia and Ram Motorsport, who leads the way in the AM class by just a couple of car lengths. So this is a fight for the class lead. Cameron.
I've got Jackson Evans. You were just talking about him a moment ago, so I thought I'd have a chat. Elliott Chute doing a solid job. A little bit of work to do when you jump in the car, though.
Yeah, look, Elliott's doing a great job. He unfortunately got caught up at that first lap, turn 2 incident, lost a couple places there, but you know, he's doing a good job. Obviously, still learning. It's first year for him in a GT car, so he's just understanding what aero wash is like at the moment. So a bit of work to do when I get in, but you know, I think he's doing a great job.
Now, separately on our coverage, Garth Tander said you basically only store your gear at the Gold Coast. You basically live on aeroplanes. How are you going with that focus of change of driving style, vehicles, circuit, location? How do you dial yourself in and get yourself set in the car with the Arise racing team?
Yeah, look, obviously it's amazing to be able to drive so many different cars, and I think just aligning yourself with a good team, and I have that here at Arise Racing GT. They're a very professional outfit, even though it's their first year, so it makes the transition a lot easier for me. Ferrari's a great car to drive, and I'm comfortable as soon as I get in it, and I think it's so different from the supercar and the Porsche that doesn't take too long to adapt.
All right, well, good luck for the race.
Cheers, thank you.
Great story, Jackson. His mum and dad, John and Debbie, up on the Gold Coast, and came through the Porsche pathway here in Sprint Challenge and won Carrera Cup, went overseas, season in Super Cup. He's forged a very successful career as a gun for hire in GT racing, and still with very close ties to the Porsche factory as well, where he was a factory junior for a long time. He's doing a nice job. Elliott Chute's a great story too, GT. He sort of came out of Driver Search Academy. We'll come back to that because the leader's just negotiating some traffic at the moment. Liam Talbot set purple sector on that lap, and then he's been involved in the fight for the trophy class win between the Aston Martin and the Scott Taylor Motorsport Porsche, 17th and 18th out of the road, and they've just cost Liam a little bit of time this lap as he negotiates some lap cars.
Liam was able to get through those guys comfortably, the trophy class cars. Darren Curry currently leading that one, so after that car having to come to pit lane under safety car to rectify some issues in the left rear, they were able to take advantage of Scott Taylor's little excursion off the circuit to get themselves back into the race lead. And Liam Talbot now has them a lap down. There's Paul Stokel chasing Liam Talbot down, trying to maximise track position here before taking the compulsory pit stop and having 15 seconds added to their pit stop for a penalty. Contact turn 2, lap 1 on Peter Hackett's 888 Mercedes. It was interesting here from Jackson Evans talking about Elliott Chute, and he was learning about aero wash, and that's we hear about a lot of that in Formula One when cars are trying to follow closely behind, trying to follow the car in front as close as they can to get a run, to get past. But given that the GT cars, like Formula One cars, create a huge amount of downforce, the air is very disturbed when you're following. So that's the aero wash, where you effectively, when you're in clear air, you've got heaps of downforce. When you're in dirty air, you lose effectively 40% of the downforce. So you lose 40% of the grip. So it makes it really challenging to follow as closely as you'd like to be able to get past. And because Phillip Island is fast, it is flowing, there's not so many stop corners, it is hard to generate a run, and that is one of the challenges of racing in a pack like we have here. Miles, Walden, Perez, Chute, all following about a second, about 7/10 to a second away from each other, because that's effectively where the air starts to clean up again and the cars start generating downforce. It's hard to get to the rear bumper and get by.
No passing aids like push to pass or DRS in GT3 racing. You make it work for yourself. The pit stop window now open for the AM cars and the trophy class cars. So on your timing screen, on the graphic left of screen on the totem, the red numbered cars are eligible now to peel off into pit lane and complete their mandatory pit stop. And the first of those to do it will be Theo Konduris, the Superbarn Supermarkets Mercedes AMG. They pit from 4th place in class. This is a great fight. Tim Miles 4th, Garth Walden 5th, leading the AM class. Sergio Perez 2nd in AM class. Now, we saw in GT4, teams electing to get themselves out of traffic early. I wonder if the Valmont Racing team, run by Tagani Autosport, might just do the same thing. Pull Perez out of this battle, get him serviced, and then get him out into clean air. So even if it's a lap later when Garth Walden pits, even though Garth has a 15-second extra pit stop time, that could be the difference. The track positioners shoot, has a serious look, but it wasn't really a move on down the inside there at MG. A couple of cars are starting to peel off into pit lane.
Walden comes to the lane, and so does Perez. So your point was right, Rich, but unfortunately it's following the car in that they're racing, but
they're going to get the lead
anyway. They'll get the lead anyway, given they have 15 seconds less because of the compensation time for Garth Walden's 45 AMG Mercedes.
What it does do is it gets Elliott Shute into clean air. Now for the Pro-Am cars, the pit window has still got 3 minutes before that opens. So he's now got 2 really good laps, an opportunity to put his head down and punch out some personal bests before he gets that car into the lane to hand over to Jackson Evans. It's the Black Wolf Motorsport number 16 car, Ben Schutz and Shane Woodman. They had a win at Queensland Raceway, which was a huge result for that team because at this round, well, the equivalent round at the start of the season here at Phillip Island, they had an absolute shocker and had a very, very big accident in race 1, which necessitated a massive rebuild of that car. So it was a huge effort to get that car back on the track, and they've been rewarded with some great results. GWR Australia at work. So Mike Sheargold will jump in that car after Garth Walden, who has been doing great things. GWR Australia and Ram Motorsport, patching up going on. Ash Samadi's
car.
R8. Quite a substantial amount of patching up by the looks of it.
Sheargold, not far away from launching. And Richard feels like such an eternity. I mean, you don't have to rush with the driver change, so you can chew up some of your pit stop time there. But you get in, get your belts done up, start the engine up, and it feels like you're waiting for 5 minutes. Like, seriously, you just want to get going, and you know that everyone else is on track at racing speed. So you then maximise, get the pit limiter off as soon as you can, minimise the amount of time you're in pit lane.
The pit entry here is pretty extreme too, and you approach it at a great rate of knots, and we have seen plenty of instances in the past where people attack the line just a little bit too hard and you get nabbed for speeding in the lane, and they're very, very strict on the transit time in this form of racing. So it's measured out before the start of the weekend. They quite literally run a car from the control line and the other control line at the exit of pit lane to time it out. It's just a smidge under 40 seconds at 40 kilometres an hour. So they know if you've been speeding the moment you trip that control line.
And the way that the teams and the drivers basically try and minimise that time, the SRO will give the teams, all right, I think as you said, it's 39.4 seconds, plus then your mandatory pit stop time, plus then any compensation time. That all gets added together. And then it's put into this little thing called a V-box.
Yep.
And you have a little readout in the car, so you know when you launch, from when you leave your pit stop to when you get to the speed de-restriction sign at the end of pit lane, whether you're ahead of the time or behind the time. Green light's good, you're good to go. Red means that you've got to maybe just lose a little bit of time in pit lane. And it's certainly been done in the past where you launch your car in front of one of your opposition cars and then maybe just go a little bit slower than 40k an hour so you get a bit of track position, but then make sure you don't exceed or go under the minimum pit stop time for your car.
We talked about the need for Elliott Shute to make some ground, and this is him doing that. He's got to the back of Tim Miles in the Audi pretty quickly.
Took 8/10 of a second out of Miles on that previous lap, so he's driven into that hole that Garth Walden and Sergio Perez opened up when they came to the lane to do their compulsory pit stop, and effectively overcutting those two cars. And now we'll get to the back of the number 7 Audi, and they will not have a compensation time on the number 8 Ferrari. So although he probably would like to get past on track, he doesn't really need to, given the number 7 car will be standing still for a further 10 seconds. Oh, shoot. Does he get it done? No, but not a afraid to stick his nose in. I like it.
They're on for net third at this point. The number 8 car with a pit stop time penalty coming for Tim Miles and Brendan Leach. And then the 15-second time penalty coming for Paul Stokel. But he'd like very much just to get a few bonus seconds. So the pit window is open for the Pro-Am cars now as well. About 4 minutes left in that before they can do it. Miles very wide on the exit of MG, and there's almost a Ferrari width on the outside, but very difficult to do the outside run at turn 11. And Miles is going to get to pit lane as well, and shoot, follows him. That'll be frustrating.
Well, this is because you want to come in as soon as you can when you're a pro. Oh, got him. And shoot, stopped. What's happened here?
Oh, I wonder if this is similar to what happened at the opening round when the Ferrari had a shutdown issue as it merged back in. And we heard Cam talk about that at the start of the race. And it cost Ferrari a real shot at a 1-2 in that, because when Chaz's car went into this shutdown mode, it hindered the car that was right behind it because they pitted both cars at the same time. I wonder if that's just had a moment hesitation as they all checked up at that 40K line that we're just talking about, the fact how hard they attack that.
So just picking up on Brenton Grove, taking over from Stephen Grove, the number 4 AMG Mercedes, and behind him was Will Brown, both those cars leaving pit lane together.
So all the leaders in. Paul Stokel stayed out. Now they'll stay out for as long as they possibly can. And he set a string of personal best laps. This is that little exchange between the two cars back to MG.
So Shoot tries to get the over and under done at the exit of MG. Nothing doing there. And you're right, Rich, that's exactly the width of a Ferrari allowed. It actually looked like Tim Miles was half changing his mind there. And then Miles then comes and stops to the 40K line, which is right there. And just the smallest of contacts. It's like it killed the Ferrari for a minute. Had to do the alt control delete to get it going again.
We'll get Cam and Jonathan down to that to find out what happened once the stops are done. So the number 1 car out, no pit stop time, and Chaz Mostert, clear racetrack in front. These guys have to sit here for a bit longer.
10 seconds longer for the 7th car.
There goes Brendan Leach. If they get a hint of a safety car, though, they will be very much in the mix.
So even though the number 8 car now with Jackson Evans aboard had that little hold up at pit entry, given that they had a 10 seconds less in their pit stop time, they have left pit lane ahead of Brendan Leach. And you're right, Rich, if there's any opportunity late in this race where the field is condensed, keep an eye on the 7 car.
Meanwhile, Will Brown is behind the wheel of car 87, the Shaw and Partners Audi, and on his out lap has set the fastest middle sector of the entire motor race. So no problems getting that car switched on. Will has got that thing fired up very, very quickly. So they're out to make up ground after the dramas early in the race for that car with Brad Schumacher spinning. He's going on with it too. Paul Stokel yet to stop. So he's actually got a lap on Chaz Mostert, Paul Stokel.
Given
as a penalty.
Pit stop times, roughly a lap. Who will lose lap and some. Brent Mostert, given he does not have any compensation time.
Sorry, Brendan Leach has just passed Marcel Zalur for position. So that's for 5th and 6th on the road. But Marcel's worked his way into the lead of the AM class here. So he's got his own race to worry about. His closest rival's Mike Sheargold down in 10th. So the Valmont car looking pretty good. Their season so far, they missed the last round at Queensland Raceway Valmont Racing. Win DNF in the AM class. So on prior form, on for a win today.
Sunshine or storm, Rich.
Tomorrow might not be.
The sun is out today.
Tomorrow might not be as good a day for them. As the OnlyFans Audi comes into pit lane finally. After another great stint from Paul Stokel, certainly fast, but marred a little bit by that incident at the start. Will Brown punches out the quickest lap of the race by a big margin too, at a 26.4. Actually, it's only 2/10 off the lap record. So he's
actually the 2 fastest cars on track at the moment are Brenton Grove and Will Brown. They left pit lane together. Will was a little bit quicker than Brenton, but those two really, really trying to make some time. Actually, you can look out of our vantage point. They're making their way down to turn 4, and you can just see in the background there. Here they come, and Marcel Zalur like, where have these two come from?
And that is for position as well. Fraser past Zalur. Marcel can be smart here, the Sydney sider. He doesn't need to race these guys. He's got to focus on his closest rivals in the class battle to get the Valmont Audi home. So he can let Declan Fraser go. Fraser's out chasing Brendan Leach. He's going very, very quickly. So 5th position for them, which will be 4th by the time the pit stop sequence shuffles out. There goes Paul Stokel. So Stokel out of the lane. Peroni goes past. Renee Gracie behind the wheel, of course. She's taken over the OnlyFans Audi. Jackson Evans yet to go through, so they're still going to be net third for all that. Evans across.
Say that 15-second penalty hasn't actually hurt them overall as much as I expected.
Yeah.
So the work that Paul Stokel put in once he was able to get around Mark Rosa certainly has helped them. Renee Gracie rejoins third, but the cavalcade's coming. Jackson Evans just done the fastest lap of the car, a race for that car. Brendan Leach, fastest lap of the race. Declan Fraser, fastest lap for their car. Brenton Grove, not far off the fastest lap. And we've already documented how fast Will Brown's going. So maybe if you're Renee Gracie, don't look in the rear vision mirror in your near future, because they're coming, and they're coming quickly.
They did serve it. The pit stop time was 15 seconds longer than the car behind, so definitely tick the box, but they're going to find themselves under great pressure now. So Evans flying, Leach flying. Man from the South Island of New Zealand, and Peter Hackett and Declan Fraser now in car number 6. So the job's already done. Evans has already passed, so Renee getting up to speed. And Jackson talked about the fact we suspected car number 8 would be a net third once all that shuffled out. Well, he had to pass the car on track to do it, but they're now going to be third place on the road in the number 8 Ferrari, with Alex Peroni, his next target, about 10 seconds up the road in the BRM Audi.
Just saw on the front of the number 8 Ferrari of Jackson Evans a bit of go fast tape. That was from the contact when Elliot Shute was bringing that car into pit lane on the back of Tim Miles. A little bit of mishap with getting the car slowed down to the 40k an hour pit lane speed. Oh, here we go, Scott Taylor. Oh, is it Scott Taylor or Paul Morris aboard the 222 Porsche, one of our trophy class cars. Slow through turn 2. Trying to pick up the helmet. It looks like Paul Morris to me, the open face helmet.
Brendan Leach has just broken the lap record. 26.0 in racing conditions in a GT3 car at Phillip Island is an extraordinary lap time.
It's half a second away from Chaz Moster's pole time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really fast.
And those tyres have done 22 laps in this race now.
Yep. So he's
but he was well out of control down at turn 4, trying to carry as much entry speed as he could, and the rear was dancing heavily.
Now there's real opportunity for this combination, Brendan Leach and Tim Miles, because the dramas for Will Brown and Brad Schumacher early. So they were second in the championship, but this car third was only 2 points behind the number 87 Audi. So if they finish the way they are, there'll be a change of position in the championship, and these guys will go second behind Mostert and Talbot, assuming, of course, everyone gets home in the remaining 20 minutes of this race.
It's a big assumption to make, Rich.
Well, the way this series
how this is
played out this year.
energized. Yes, exactly.
Correct. So Mostert out in front now, 10 seconds the margin to Alex Peroni, young Tasmanian, second place after a great opening stint from Mark Rosser. Jackson Evans another 10 seconds back down the road in third. Brendan Leach is going to be going at him very, very quickly. That's going to be a cool battle if they get to each other. Gracie fifth, and then Declan Fraser next, with Brenton Grove being chased by Will Brown. So I think Brenton might enjoy this. Will charging on in the Shaw and Partners Audi. So this will be the fight for 7th and 8th position.
So Will Brown will experience the same thing that we were talking about earlier with aero wash. Oh, it's a shame to see the number 38 Audi in pit lane. So the dramas that they had early in this one look to be continuing as the team have dived under, taken the car into the garage and dived under the rear.
So between the problems for the Aston and the problems for the Porsche, trophy class,
it's still alive. You just got to get to the end.
Finish, get the checkered flag, you're going to win it. Oh, Brown has a look. The Audi sliding around at the apex of Siberia, and then that great run down to the hay shed.
So you can get through the hay shed following without any aero wash, but this next one at Lukey Heights is the challenge. So Brenton's left the door open early in the corner and closed it off, and you lose the aero wash there. What you need to do is position your car in the mid part of the braking zone, and it's going to make it very hard for the number 87 Audi to get up the inside into MG. So this now will be starting to frustrate Will Brown. I think that Brenton Grove's doing is wrong. It's smart racing, but certainly slowing the march and the recovery for Will Brown. We know there's speed in this car, but he's going to need to get past the number 4 Mercedes to get the job done. Brendan Leach just rolling off low 26s for fun now. So 26.1 on that last lap. Took 0.6 of a second out of Jackson Evans for third. The gap is only 1.6 seconds. So we'll keep an eye on that one while we keep an eye on Will Brown trying to get past Brendan Grove for 7th. Great shot, turn 4. You can actually see Brad Schumacher's signature down there in the runoff area at turn 4 from early in the race. Declan Fraser gets up the inside of Renee Gracie at Siberia, and you can see Renee even had the indicator on. She wasn't interested in getting in a battle because she knows her best result will be coming. Just keep going as fast as you can. Don't get involved in battles. Keep your momentum up.
Let's check in with the lane with Jonathan Simon.
Number 38, Aston Martin, you saw it in the lane for the second time with an issue today. Unfortunately, they had the alarm issue earlier in the race. That was rectified. This time, the team is telling me it's a voltage issue with the car. I asked them how long the fix will take. They said they don't know. The race is ticking down to a close, and it's certainly a lot of electronics issues with that car today. It's certainly not what you want to deal with.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's been a cool story this year, the performance of that team, Darren Curry and Valentino Studi. How quickly they've made that car go. Paul Morris and Scott Taylor, who popped up in the trophy class at Queensland Raceway as basically a bit of fun for the two old mates. Scott Taylor Motorsports, just have a nice weekend. Scotty loves that spec Porsche GT3R as well. They enjoyed themselves so much at Queensland Raceway. They got a trophy. They decided to come to Phillip Island as well, which is just great spirit for the racing here. And any opportunity, as you suggested earlier, for Scott to drive his spectacular transporter anywhere in Australia, he'll take as well. Conveniently could bring down the McLaren that the boys have been running in GT4 and got themselves a class podium in the AM class there. Still 17 minutes to go in this one. Grove very, very wide and followed out there by Will Brown. 7th and 8th position, but they've got Renee Gracie in front too. So 6th, 7th and 8th all locked together. Mostert out in front, and Peroni's got the margin sub 10 seconds now for the first time this race. A bit of management going on out in front by the Ferrari, no doubt.
Yeah, I'll track that for you. You can manage the tyre. Remember, there is still a small concern over the tyre here at Phillip Island. We've documented just how hard it is on any tyre, whether you're racing here on 2 wheels or 4. So, given you've got a 10-second lead, if you're Chaz Mostert, you can manage that nicely. The gap to keep an eye on is Leach to Evans. Brendan Leach has just broken that record again because he can. Still 26.0, it's just closer to the 25.9 than it was previously. Brenton Grove now ranging up on the rear bumper of Renee Gracie's Audi.
While this is going on, let's go back to Cam.
Just following up for you, Garth, on the question relating to Elliot Shute and the issue on his pit entry. He said, yes, it was. I got checked up, and then my anti-stall didn't kick in, so I actually stalled, had to fire the car back up again, and that was the issue for the Ferrari. The message was that their anti-stall can be temperamental in the Ferrari.
A Ferrari? Temperamental?
Very Italian.
Tell me more.
Brenton Grove continues to fend off Will Brown. They've both got past Gracie.
And again, Renee realising that you do not need to get it tied up in this. There's a top 10 result on offer here. Given now there's a big gap behind Renee back to Marcel Zalua. She can just settle in behind the battle of Brenton Grove and Will Brown. Brenton just running a little wide, and you can see the alternate line there between those two cars. Brenton Grove really squaring off the exit. Will Brown turning in early, trying to keep the momentum up. Struggle in this last corner with aero wash. Just the ability to follow closely when you're the following car. Brendan Leach has got the job done, so he wasn't following closely. He wasn't hanging around, and this car's so nervous on entry. We saw that at turn 4, just again there at turn 2, and able to make lap time with it though. This thing is seriously fast. Like, no one else is anywhere near 26.0. The next fastest car on track's Declan Fraser, 26.3.
Looking for their 3rd consecutive podium finish in Fanatec GT World Challenge this year, off the back of a 3rd and a 2nd at Queensland Raceway. The bulk of a season, the middle point of a season, when you start anchoring a championship challenge, and that's what this team is certainly doing. Tim Miles drove really well at the start of the race, handed the car over in the right position. And Brendan Leach, fast Kiwi from Invercargill. His dad's here this weekend, actually watching on, a well-known vehicle preparer and car restorer from that part of the world as well, watching on. Jonathan.
Down here at Grove Racing with owner of Grove Racing, Stephen Grove. We want to get down to the bottom of this question. Who's quicker, yourself or Brenton?
Brenton by a long way. And the test is on now because I think he's one place ahead of Will Brown. So we bring the supercar thing back in a bit where we're trying to beat Triple Eight again. So hopefully he can hold him off. I'm not sure how long it's to go. I think it's 12 minutes. So hopefully he can hold him off and see how we go.
In terms of the other aspect of your race, can he claw back a few of the cars in front? What do you reckon his chances are?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, the guys ahead are all pretty quick as well. So I think his goal now will be just to try and hold off Will and see if he can get to the end. That would be a great outcome for us. Cars are so much better in the race than it was in quali. So, yeah, I think we should finish pretty good.
Beautiful. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
Stephen Grove, chatting to Jonathan Simon down there in the Grove Racing Garage. Great to have them back in GT Racing. Little manufacturer switch this year from Porsche to Mercedes AMG. Spent a bit of time with the boss. They're just so passionate about their motor racing, aren't they, the Groves?
Yeah, certainly are. Do a lot of racing internationally. And there's another Grove Racing AMG Mercedes based in Europe that the team go over and do a bit of racing with. Got the car here. Steve loves his career at Cup Racing and obviously the Penrite Racing organisation in the Supercars Championship. There's no shortage of commitment to motorsport from the Grove Group. So they range up on the back of Mark Sini in the Hallmark Audi. Mark, a long-time competitor in the championship, and they're not hanging around. Will Brown thought there might be an opportunity there just to sneak up the inside at Lukey Heights, but Brenton saw him coming.
This is good. I'm looking at the time. Got one eye on the timing monitor as well, GT, because they're all going really, really fast. So you pointed out Brendan Leach just reset his own lap record. Well, he matched it, didn't he? So 26.02 is the new lap
off
record.
The pace on the last lap.
Yeah,
5/100ths off the lap record.
26.07. But Alex Peroni in second has just punched out at 26.2, and Chaz Mostert going on with it too. So they've got 12 minutes left in the race, and it's all just energised a little bit.
What's happening here, Rich, is the cars are getting lighter as we burn the fuel out. Now, we talk about this place being hard on tyre, but it's hard on the tyre construction. It's not hard on tyre wear. So as the fuel comes out, these cars come to life, and you definitely go a lot faster. The sun is setting, and I just had a look out the window, and the wind is nowhere near as strong as it was earlier in the day. So the reason we're starting to see the timing screen light up is the cars are certainly getting faster. There's enough tyre left under the car as far as degradation goes. Cars are getting lighter, and the track's getting faster because less wind, less direct sunlight, and it is getting a little bit cooler. So that's all ingredients for fast lap times. And Brendan Leach has just now set the fastest first sector, the fastest second sector, and he's on to maybe finally crack into the 25s. I don't know. Feels like he's been hanging around for the last couple of laps. It's about time he got his act together and got on with it.
As we watch the 34 car, the Harold's Racing Volante Rosso Motorsport car, David Brabham behind the wheel. And how cool is it to have the Le Mans 24-hour winner, as Brendan Leach does at 25.9. Thank you very much to reset the lap record that he's already broken 3 times in this race. 9.8 seconds behind Alex Peroni, and trying to go out after him. And here is the Dale ITM Audi. He's got 2.5 seconds back to Jackson Evans and 10 to the car in front. So he's basically got Phillip Island to himself, barring some lap traffic. This speedy Kiwi from Invercargill is doing great things. Cool to have Brabs in the field. We haven't seen much of him today. He and Chris Batsios in the Harold's Racing car have been just cruising around quietly, but it's just nice to have a former Le Mans winner in the field, a guy who had 30-odd Formula One starts across a couple of teams in the early 1990s. Of course, the surname sells itself, and so cool to have him here, and his boy Sam racing in GT4 as well.
Yeah, it certainly has. Had a good chat to Brabs earlier this morning, and I said, oh, you dusted the race suit off? He goes, oh, actually, no, I've been doing a bit back in the UK, and nothing in Mercedes. He hadn't driven a Mercedes AMG before, but done some GT racing in a different type of GT racing in the BT62 Brabham that bears his family name. So yeah, he's actually starting to do a bit more racing and pretty keen to do a bit more here in Australia as well. So it's great to have Brabs here. And, really enjoying driving at Phillip Island. He goes, man, I don't remember this place having this much grip.
well, it's because it hasn't. Cam?
Yeah, I thought I'd follow on the story. We got race lap record being reset and reset by your co-driver, Tim Miles. Brendan Leach doing a great job out there. Last time I spoke to you, I think here was a race win. I'm not sure you're going to get it done today, but the car looks so quick.
Yeah, it's definitely really fast. I mean, it's a shame we couldn't have done it in qualifying. Would have made our job a bit easier today, but he's doing a fantastic job. I think he went out in 5th or something like that. Quickly made progress, 4th, 3rd, and now setting lap records makes me nervous. He can calm down now, I think.
Well, Garth Tander was just saying that this car seems quicker than anything out there at the moment. From your perspective driving it, does it feel like it's on rails?
Yeah, it got really comfortable. In quali it was quite unpredictable and a little bit scary, but the winds died down. The car really suits the conditions, and it's gives you a lot of confidence.
What's the best you think you can hope for out of this race result?
I think 3rd. We're sort of 5 or 6 seconds behind the bloke in 2nd, so not enough laps to catch that up, so I think 3rd.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Cheers.
He's a great guy, great racer. Tim Miles loves his sport.
Ever the salesman, Tim Miles.
Exactly.
The gap's actually 11 seconds, Tim. So nothing like underselling.
Put a bit of mayo on it, it's all good.
But been a great fight back, hasn't it, by that car. Started deep in the field. There's certainly plenty of speed aboard the number 7 Audi. And the impressive thing is he's able to catch cars and not get caught like Will Brown has here. He's got caught in the aero wash, and Will's got a faster car than Brendan Grove, but he can't use it, can't get by, whereas Brendan Leach has been able to keep that march going, get past cars quickly and get on with it. That's been quite impressive for me.
This has been a ripper drive from Brenton. Really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be careful because he is my boss in my other job, but I shared the car with him at Portimao. We went to Portugal, did a 24-hour race over there, and he drives the Mercedes in particular very, very well. Very, very well. And doesn't do a lot of driving, spends a lot more time in the office now than he has in the past. And for the driving he does, I actually think he does a very good job.
Well, for all the time they've spent at the pointy end of the championship this year, it's been a long time since Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot actually won a race. In fact, it's the opening race of the championship here at Phillip Island. And they've now got 7 minutes and 15 seconds plus a lap to go to grab their 2nd win of the season for Arise Racing, and put an exclamation point on the fact that they lead the championship going into the back half of the season. There's an enduro to come at Sydney Motorsport Park, and then the finale, well, we're going to have a finale, do it at a cool racetrack. So the last round this year is at Mount Panorama Bathurst, the Bathurst International in November. That's going to be a pretty special place to see. I suspect there might be a bit of pre-Bathurst 12-hour testing going on that weekend as well. So
imagine so. The manufacturers get very interested in the Australian teams whenever they have cars at Mount Panorama.
Correct.
There's all these European engineers always turn up whenever those cars are running at Bathurst. So I think you're right, Rich. There will be a bit of Bathurst 12-hour testing going on, let alone the battle to the conclusion of the championship this year for the Australian GT Championship.
Well, the way it ebbs and flows, it could go any way. A bit of lap traffic here. James Konduras in the 47 car. Tagani Autosport run that car. They had to do a big repair job after yesterday. The car came off the road. James said he just ran wide at turn 6, which is Siberia, grabbed the car, fired it across the road and into the tyres. So quite a bit of damage. They patched that up, and they're currently sitting P5 in the AM class, which is still led by Marcel Zalura in the Valmont Racing car. Mike Sheargold in 2nd, 8 seconds behind. So there's not a battle going on at the moment. It's a battle to get that stop, though. The Black Wolf Mercedes, Ben Schutz, who is 4th in class, is now 3rd in class, but had to do the big hip and shoulder on Ash Samadi to get it done.
So the rear toe link on Ash Samadi's Audi is not as straight as it was prior to MG Corner on that lap. So Ash will have drama. So we'll keep an eye whether he comes to the lane. He doesn't. He's gone past pit entry, I can see from our vantage point. So for Ash Samadi, he needs to make sure he gets that car back to pit lane in a safe manner and doesn't cause any more damage to his car. Whilst this battle rages on, Rich, just so you know, Brendan Leach is about to break the lap record again.
You're telling me things are.
Well, he didn't break it by a little bit this time. He didn't muck around.
He destroyed it.
25.5. That's 5/100 slower than the pole time that Chaz Mostert said earlier. Here's a replay down the inside. Gets the grass. Ash Samadi didn't know he was there, but to be honest, Schutz was probably didn't need to be in the grass there. The car's not going to stop as efficiently, and inevitable contact. Schutz goes on. Samadi with damage to the rear of that car.
There's a bit to play out from that because that was for a spot on the podium in the AM class. That was for 3rd place. Schutz got the move, but he's got the position, but damage to Ash Samadi's car as a result. So race control will have a look at that. Here's the Aston Martin, young Alex Gardner behind the wheel. He's the reigning champion, First Focus Radical Cup Australia competition last year. Beat Elliott Shute to that title. So they've both graduated up into GT World Challenge this year, part of the Valente Rosso Motorsport stable. A little drama earlier for the Aston Martin, but this is all development laps for them. They're learning that. Valente Rosso, Josh Hunt, the former racer, and Chris Papadopoulos building a cool program there. And
Samadi, who's getting his way back to the pits. Brenton Grove lob right around the outside of the hay shed. So out in the marbles at a corner that's normally 5th gear, full noise. Probably had to brake and go back a gear and then change some underwear on the other side of the hay shed before getting to Lukey Heights. Thankfully they got through.
So the Black Wolf car continues on. Here's the Super Barn Supermarket entry, and out of the lane goes the Aston Martin. So Valentino Astudi is going to try and limp that car to the line.
Well, probably more a systems check ahead of tomorrow, Rich. Make sure. Oh,
big
tyre.
story. Big story. Jackson Evans for Arise Racing in the lane with a tyre down on the Ferrari. And this is one of the contenders. So Arise Racing will have to throw some rubber on that car.
But it's over and out as far as a podium result or a top 4 result. So now the radio call will absolutely go out to this car, given that he has a 12-second gap over Alex Peroni in second, letting him know.
He's just set a personal best lap, Chas Mostert, 26.2.
But look at the middle sector. I can guarantee you the radio call went out after the first sector because he rolled a second out of it in the middle sector. And that will be as a result of this tyre failure on the rear of the Audi.
Jonathan?
And a lot of work here done to the Ferraris. Obviously that puncture, as you said, that's a quick repair actually, and they'll be screaming away here. I spoke to the team, they said only a puncture, no other concerns.
Yeah, it really kills their race. The 11th or 12th after this, and word from race control, 15-second time penalty coming the way of Ben Schutz for a driving infringement for that contact with Ash Samadi at turn 10.
So just over 2 minutes left in this one, and I can guarantee you the radio would have lit up to Chas Mostert. Just roll out of it, mate. We don't need to worry. And he's 6/10 slower in the first sector on this lap, and that will be as a direct result. You can see where the tyres failed on the inside shoulder of that Pirelli for the Ferrari. It's the loaded tyre, and luckily that didn't open up and then do a lot of bodywork damage to that car. So Jackson Evans rejoined the race 11th spot.
Ouch.
And he has 12 seconds to the next car, so probably not really any potential to catch up. Oh no.
Well, the systems check has
It's
not
failed.
passed. Yeah.
Failed. And that's why you do systems checks, because you don't want that happening ahead of tomorrow's race. But 38, Aston Martin, that's on the rundown, inside on the rundown to turn 3, and we have a minute 15 to go. Hopefully we can cover that with local yellows.
Some of the new Armco that's been installed here at Phillip Island. Grades by Fox Corporation, who owns the racetrack and continues to upgrade it every time we visit. That was Elliott Shute watching on from Arise Racing, looking forlornly at what was a solid result, going begging there. And to your point, Chas Mostert last time round, 129.
29.6. Yes, so absolutely in conservation mode. You can bring this car home, don't need any extra energy going through the tyre, and you don't go fast without using the tyre up. Brendan Leach. So that has happened, that will have happened at the exit of turn 3 for sure, Rich. And this has opened up the tyre and done bodywork damage. Brendan having to drag that car home.
This is big from a championship point of view. We talked about the fact that if things ran as they were going to move to second in the standings. Well, they're going to lose a spot to Will Brown. Yeah. In fact, they already have. Brown has gone through, so they were their closest rivals from a championship point of view. Another right rear goes. All that lap record breaking has come at a cost for Brendan Leach and Tim Miles.
Yeah, you do not get race finish points by setting the lap record and then dragging it into pit lane like this. So,
well, they'll get another tyre on it and get it out. The clock has dropped to 0, but it's +1 lap, so pit lane's still open. Yeah. And here's a look, wow. Yeah, midway through, fully loaded.
So the tyres, right rear tyre on the rear engine or mid-engine cars, Ferrari and the Audi, they'll either happen at the exit of the final corner or the exit of turn 3, because they're long, loaded, high-speed corners. Tyre temperature spikes, and eventually the tyre gets to the point where it can't deal with it, and it opens up. I've lived that life. I've had that exact failure happen in and out at turn 3. It gets your attention, I can assure you, Rich.
They need to get a tyre on that car and get it out of the lane.
Yeah, well, that's
the checkered flag.
Well, I was going to make that point. They need to get out of the lane before the flag flies, otherwise you get trapped and it's a DNF.
Yeah.
So he hasn't even got back to his box yet. We can see from our vantage point, Brendan Leach coming in now, just stopping now, and the clock thinking they might be trouble. The flag man's waiting, Rich, with the flag. So you watch the screen, I'm watching the checkered flag.
Well, the leader going around the back now, out of Siberia, Chaz Mostert. They did all the work early.
You're watching, Rich.
Liam Talbot, noted. I think they're okay.
I think they're going to be very just okay. And he has left pit lane.
Time to perfection for the Audi. Well, something's gone right for them at the end of this race. A podium goes begging for them, though. Certainly won't for this combination. What a performance. It's been a while between drinks. They've led the championship the whole way since the opening race, but it hasn't all gone their way for Arise Racing, for Chaz Mostert and for Liam Talbot. But on a stunning Saturday afternoon, it certainly has. Arise Racing will get a second win for Ferrari the 2024 season. They do it in style. Mostert and Talbot on top on Saturday. And they will lead home Alex Peroni and Mark Rosser in second place. So another podium finish for those guys. Marcel Zalua and Sergio Perez. They've won every race one they've started this season. That's their third win of the year. They'll be hoping to get a finish tomorrow because they haven't been able to do that. Fourth place for Grove Racing through all the end of that. Brenton Grove, a great drive, fending off Will Brown.
Well, I actually noticed Will Brown, since his teammate at Melbourne Performance Centre, Brendan Leach, had that tyre failure, Will Brown has rolled right out of it and potentially making sure he brings his car home, given the championship implications should that fail. So here's Brown now. So look how much he has dropped off the back of Brendan Grove, just to make sure that car gets home. There's no threat from behind. So he rolls it home, does Brown.
And valuable championship points that will keep them second in the championship. Walking this thing to the line. His final lap was a 1:39.4.
13 seconds off the peak performance speed of that car.
So through all that, by the way, having been served at turn 2 on the opening lap, Declan Fraser and Peter Hackett finished third, and no problems for the Merc at the end, 26.0 on the final lap, quickest lap of the race for that car. So they were flying, and that's a great comeback drive for T8. Anchored well by Peter Hackett.
Renee Grayson's had a tyre. So she crossed the line, literally had a tyre fail coming out of the last corner as she crossed the line.
Well spotted.
Well, 45.5 for Renee Gracie in the last lap. So,
it never rains, Garth. Car 7, that's Brendan Leach. 40-second time penalty, pit lane speed.
Well, so you'll ask, well, why is it 40 seconds? That's the equivalent of a pit lane drive-through. So that will drop them deep in the field, Rich.
That's comfortably their worst finish of the season by far. Well, it has to be, because previously it was 5th. They've had such a good year. But everyone's had a bad result so far in this championship, so it keeps them in the mix still. There's Liam Talbot walking down to the podium. He's going to get a trophy and some champagne. Anchored that race. The sea sort of parted on the opening lap, and then he had a 2 or 3 second margin for that opening stint, was able to maintain that. Confirmation of your results. You can pick your class winners as well. Ferrari, Audi and Mercedes AMG in the top 3. Once again, 3 different brands featuring there. Great comeback drives from Will Brown and Brad Schumacher. Marcel Zalua and Sergio Perez get the win for the 3rd time this year in the AM class in front of Garth Walden and Mike Sheargold. Ben Schutz and Shane Woodman 3rd. However, they do have a time penalty hanging over their head for that, so the final results might drop them a little bit further down the order. Tyre issue for Jackson Evans and Elliot Shute. They were 10th in the end, what could have been for them. Early dramas for Alex Gardner and Ross Polakis in the Aston Martin. They recovered to 11th. Brad's on debut in Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, at least 13th with Chris Spatsios. And classified at the end, 14th, Brendan Leach and Tim Miles, but 40 seconds to be added to their time when the results are finalised. There's Sergio Perez. He's going to meet his old mate. These two have been racing together for a very long time. They started out racing in a 2-car team in Porsches. and they decided they didn't like that. They'd much rather share a car rather than risk crashing into each other. So they've teamed up and they do endurance races together, and they do a great job, and that's an AM class win for them. And this has been a big drive, hasn't it, for Mark Rosser? Best on ground in qualifying, we discussed earlier. Haven't they delivered today with a great drive from Alex Peroni at the end?
Chaz Moster's only done one thing wrong today. He's parked in the wrong queue in the podium.
So nobody's perfect.
Put it on pole and won that race, but didn't quite get the parking test right, Chaz Mostert. But great result for this team. This car certainly loves Phillip Island, and they'll be very, very happy campers down at Arise Racing.
And what was a 1-point championship lead coming into that race is now 10 provisionally. That is a big, big day at the office from a championship point of view for Arise Racing.
But be mindful that tomorrow, the number 1 Ferrari will have 15 seconds compensation time. The number 87 Audi will have 0. So when we say swings and roundabouts, the Snakes and Ladders board will work in favour of Will Brown and Brad Schumacher tomorrow.
And the way it plays out is the driver that finishes this race starts race 2 tomorrow. So it'll be Mostert, Peroni, Fraser, Grove. Ojeda will be in the mix in that one too, because he qualified very well. Unfortunately, they were out early today in the Realtor car, but watch for them when they roll out tomorrow. And then the AM drivers will bring it home. Ram Motorsport, Mike Sheargold pulling the balaclava off, debriefing with Garth Walden. They had a really solid day. That's a points day for them, isn't it? Couldn't win the race, but they're up against guys not in calculations for the championship. So P2, solid result.
Take that. Second in class.
Highlights, race number 1 of Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia here at Phillip Island. Plenty to unpick through all of that. The stories will debrief late into the night. A wild start. There was a hip and shoulder early on. Stoker was in the thick of it with a little bump and run down towards turn 1, but it got worse. Down the inside at the southern loop into the back of Peter Hackett, and there was contact. It unloaded the 888 car, and that was a 15-second penalty coming the way of the OnlyFans Audi that they would serve in their pit stop. The Aston Martin turned around early. Then this huge, huge lunge from Brad Schumacher. Great evasive driving from Mark Rosser to avoid it, but a 360 dropped this car right to the very back of the field. This was entertaining though. Great battle between the Audis.
It was. Paul Stokel, who would have to serve a 15-second time penalty at his compulsory pit stop for that lap 1 incident with Peter Hackett getting around Mark Rosser finally. This battle was entertaining. Elliot Schutz and Tim Miles, and that would continue on as they went into pit lane, and then contact here. Shoot into the back of Miles as Miles was slowing up for the 40k zone. The Ferrari just stopped, had to reset, got him going again, but did cost that car some time. Then the pros jumped aboard, and the timing screens lit up. Brendan Leach broke the lap record lap after lap after lap, but later in the race he would pay a price.
This was a big move for 3rd in the AM class. Ben Schutz down the inside would get penalised 15 seconds for that. And then within sight of the checkered flag, remarkably, several key contenders. So Elliot Schutz with a tyre gone. It was Jackson Evans in the number 8 car. And then this, Brendan Leach, a huge moment at the end. The win went to Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot, their 2nd of the year. It's time to celebrate on the podium. Here's Cameron.
Welcome to the podium presentation for the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. Presenting the trophies today, Frank Mensah on behalf of Pirelli. Please welcome the top 3 place cars for the Pro-Am class. In 3rd place, Declan Fraser and Peter Hackett, 888 Race Engineering. In 2nd place, Alex Peroni and Mark Rosser from Team BRM ACM Finance. And in 1st place, Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot, Arise Racing GT. Ladies and gentlemen, your Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS Pro-Am winners. And now for the celebrations.
Or even if this leg came around, you know.
Yeah, if you strap a leg to that and a leg to that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it.
We'll just get these photos set at the moment. And now, please welcome the top 3 place cars for the AM class. In 3rd place, Ben Schutz and Shane Woodman, Black Wolf Motorsport. In 2nd place, Mike Sheargold and Garth Walden, Ram Motorsport, GWR Australia. And in 1st place, Marcel Zalua and Sergio Perez, Velmont Racing, Tagani Motorsport. Ladies and gentlemen, your Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS AM class winners. And now for the celebrations. Thank you.
That's the AM class podium just celebrating. Wait for the trophy podium. One more to go here at Phillip Island at what's been the end of a pretty dramatic day of racing. Monochrome GT4 kicked it all off, and then Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia with a dramatic end to a wild race. Back to Cam.
Finally, thanks Krause. Please welcome the winners for the trophy class. Your winners, Paul Morris and Scott Taylor for Scott Taylor Motorsport. Ladies and gentlemen, your Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS Trophy Class winners. And now, gentlemen, time for the celebrations.
Well done to the Scott Taylor Motorsport team. It was a race of attrition in a class of 2 at one point. Neither of these cars looked like they were going to win trophy class today. Well, Garth, we've got a short amount of time to wrap all that up. It feels like it's going to take a lot longer, but for the outright winners, for Mostert and for Talbot, that is a very big day.
Yeah, very big day. Took their opportunity with no compensation time in their compulsory pit stop. Started from the pole, had the speed early. Thought Talbot's opening stint was very, very strong, managed it nicely, and throw Chaz Mostert the car in the lead, and he's going to do wonderful things.
Thanks for your work today. Thanks also to Jonathan Simon and Cameron van der Dungen and all our team here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. We hope you've enjoyed the day. The best thing is we get to do it all again tomorrow. Join us live on Fox Sports for all of our coverage from the SRO GT Festival. We'll see you tomorrow.
job done by all. Thank you very much, boys. Johnny Steve. Just quickly, Steve. Luke's going to get 2 and then he's coming to get me. Coming to drop the U back to me, so I'll come and get you. That's fine, but that's my plan until you tell me otherwise. How long before we finish this one, mate?